Welcome into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you in our family leisure studio on this Monday afternoon. Plenty to get into as it was a busy weekend. A whole lot of football action between college and the NFL. It was the first weekend of college basketball. We had NBA action. The Grizzlies won a pair of games over the weekend, Friday night and then last night. So a lot to get into over these next 3 hours. But Brett, how are you this afternoon?
I'm doing very well, Brian, and really good to be with you, and want to wish everyone out there on this 11/11 on Veterans Day, to all the veterans out there, thank you for your service, and to those families that a veteran paid the ultimate sacrifice. I know we memorialize that and have the honor of that on Memorial Day. It should be every day. Thank you so much out there on Veterans Day. I know a lot of people off and kind of a slower Monday for some, but we're here and we're really glad to be here on this day and hope we can entertain and possibly inform you. But it was a wild weekend, and Bryant, when I saw the Chet Holmgren injury over the weekend, it made me really be scared of, is it more with Ja than we're being told? Because when I hear that pelvic injury, now Holmgren's was a break, right?
Yeah.
Broke, so that's pretty clear. But I know Grizzlies fans will remember this, and he was a big-time free agent, and I think was on his way to greatness. Michael Dickerson from Arizona, early in the Grizzlies' years here in town, he had that injury where the muscle is torn from the pelvis. And only time fixes it. So I'm hoping with Ja that it's on the lesser end and maybe even lighter than Michael Dickerson's injury. But with every passing day, I get a little more concerned about it, and I know we'll talk a lot about that with DeMichael Cole. That said, after 11 games, wouldn't we have signed up for 7-4?
For sure, 100%. I mean, they've been.
I think I wanted 8-3.
I mean, I think you always want
kind of guy.
A little better, but no, I mean, I think it's been a success, and I think you. If those losses, if two of those losses weren't against Brooklyn in both of them, I think there would be a completely different conversation.
That's it. That is the point of the boy. You got that out of the way. Quick point of the day.
A couple minutes in. Yeah, that's right. But I mean, early losses, early head scratching losses happen in the NBA, and so I think so far this team's playing well, and it feels like, and I think I was watching the game last night, and either Pete or Brevin made this point, or maybe it was Rob after the game. I don't remember. I know I was watching the game, and somebody made this great point that every game that these guys are out there and you watch them play, it feels like they're getting more comfortable in this new system.
Yeah,
they're playing it better. They're running it better. And I do. I think you see that. And they're only going to get better the more they understand and are comfortable with this new system.
And boy, with Donovan Clingan and a lot of this rookie class, I feel really good about our rookie.
Yeah, no, he's played well. And that's another guy that feels like every single game out there, he plays better.
Our rookies.
Yeah, multiple of them. But with Zach Edey in particular, kind of that the big fish of your rookies. He every single game out there, he looks like he's getting better and he's getting more comfortable out there. And then Jalen Wells, I mean, what you're learning that you got out of him, a guy that. Nobody in this area knew who Jalen Wells was when he was selected by the Grizzlies, and for him to step in and have this impact, is definitely huge for this Grizzlies team.
The Grizzlies Wednesday night in Los Angeles against the Lakers. It won't be ESPN's dream matchup. They wanted, especially with the dust up and kind of unpleasantries both ways. They wanted Ja versus LeBron on Wednesday night on national TV. That's not going to happen late Wednesday night. I don't think there's any chance Ja's in there. And then Friday night for ESPN. They wanted Ja for both of those, and they're not going to get him for either. And so before we get to DeMichael, this week at Lakers on Wednesday, Golden State on Friday, home matinee next Sunday afternoon against Denver. 2-1 would be gold star week, wouldn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's a tough slate, and I feel like we're going to have a lot of Mondays where we come in and kind of lay out the next 3 or 4 games on the schedule for the week, and we're going to say, well, if you win,
and we're not going to
couple of them, right? But my point is in the West, there's going to be a lot of weeks we come in and go, okay, man, you win 2 of them, you win 1 of them, that's a great week, and that's just how tough the West is.
And the 2-0 Memphis Tigers.
That's right.
And I'm seeing some that that are kind of warning of maybe problems ahead of playing with fire. You can't keep repeating this. I see 2-0.
Sure. Yeah. No. I mean, you got to be happy with 2-0.
If they're right about warnings ahead, I'll give you credit when we get to that point.
Sure.
But right now, I'll take 2-0 against two teams that I don't know how good or how bad either that they are, or how their seasons will go. But I know how we would feel if it was 0-2 or 1-1.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think UNLV on the road is a tough test early in the season. I think any road game early in the season is tough, and so UNLV put up a fight. And I think when you trail by double digits in a game, especially early, it's very easy to stay down and not be able to bounce back. But they were able to bounce back, and I think any team 2 games in, there are going to be concerns. I think you go up and down every team in the country right now and probably list some concerns.
Sure.
Those are going to be there, but you just got to, take it one game at a time and, hope that they can, just get a little better every time out. And I think, this team will be fine if they can just keep improving.
2-0 for the Memphis Tigers, and I think at some point when net starts rolling out and we start talking mocks and committees and all that good jargon and stuff, those two aren't going to hurt you.
No. I think I think they'll help you. And who knows about Missouri? That's still kind of a lot unknown. But I do think UNLV with how good that Mountain West usually
Go
is.
Vegas.
That's right. West. Yeah. So I think that one's going to be one that could definitely help you down the stretch.
Mountain West is kind of always that league. If you get that win against them, it can always is the gift that keeps on giving.
It sure is, and that's just a testament to the good basketball they play over there. It feels like they're about 6 or 7 deep in that conference every year, and then the teams that are not in that 6 or 7 deep, they can always play spoiler, and so it kind of just makes it a fun January and February every single year for the Mountain West.
They play real late, and we kind of wake up to the news and go, oh, yeah, it's really competitive in the Mountain West.
Yeah. So you wake up and go, oh, wow, I didn't know Fresno State had a good team this year. And then you go, well, they don't. They're just on a 4-game win streak right now in conference. So I love Mountain West basketball.
We did go Tiger Bankroll Friday afternoon. We got it in, and I got there with the Tigers. Connor got there with the Tigers. Both you and Darian had UNLV.
Yeah, no, I took UNLV, and I thought it was going to be a close game, and certainly it was UNLV early, but Tigers able to shoot 70% in the second half from the field, and that offense came alive. So hey, I said it on Friday when I made that pick. Wasn't confident in it. I still am trying to figure this team out. Still trying to figure the team out, even after a 2-0 start. And so, I'll try to. Like I said, I'm just waiting on teams to improve every game. I just want to see myself improve from pick over pick.
We're going to get to college football wall to wall. We're going to get to a lot of it. But one more basketball note, and we kind of joke, Bryant. Should we tell them? Should we tell Arkansas fans? And a heartbreaking loss to Scott Drew and Baylor. Brian, I don't think there is a world that exists that Scott Drew should ever be considered he should always be considered the better coach of those two. They each have a national champion. I would take Scott Drew every time in that game. And that loss for John Calipari drops him to 89-68 in his coaching career against top 25 teams. That's a 57% win rate. I'm not going to do all the research on it, but I would bet you in that 157 games, I would bet you minimum 100 times he had the better ranking than the opponent in top 25 games.
Oh yeah, probably. I mean, he's had some really, really good teams. I'd say it's probably a pretty good guess.
I would bet you he had more NBA material
for sure
than those 57%. I don't think that's very good.
Yeah.
Do you in 157 games?
Yeah.
89 up, 68 down.
I'd have to see what other coaches' records are, but it's around 50%, 50-50, I guess.
And the number of times, we know in the celebrated year of 38-2, we know he was better ranked in both of those and lost.
Right. Yeah,
one versus two to Bruce Pearl in Tennessee.
That's right.
And then in the national championship game against KU.
That's right. Yeah, so that's two of them right there. How about that?
That's two, and I ain't even started.
Right. Yeah, you haven't even
Kentucky.
Exactly. You haven't even done any research.
And he loses his first big game at Arkansas.
Yeah, that's right, and that was one of the two marquee games of the night in college basketball for those who were trying to split screen between college basketball and college football, like I was. That was the first one, and that was a good game. And then later you had really a classic between Auburn and Houston after Auburn had to turn their plane around Friday night and return to Auburn because they had a couple players fighting, or as Bruce Pearl wanted to tell all his media buddies, horse playing.
Not a chance. I'm told from some people, some inside the plane, they couldn't get it broken up.
I believe it. The captain's call to air traffic control came out on Saturday, and he said,
did it?
We've got guys, bloodied. We've got shirts ripped. You can't even control these guys. Yeah, it was and I just thought it was hilarious that the first reports come out, hey, Auburn's having to turn their plane around. They got guys, physical altercations on the plane.
Horrible look.
And then you've got, I would say guys that would call themselves respected media members that want to go out on social media and say, well, I've been told by sources that it was just horse playing that got a little out of control. What are we talking about?
That Auburn media will sanitize anything. Literally anything. And I think people in this area, and a lot of people probably know this, after you've just taken off like it did, it had not reached.
No,
it wasn't close to cruising.
No, not at all.
Height. To jettison the fuel. You don't land an airplane with full tanks.
No.
To jettison the fuel and circle a little bit and let them know, hey, we're coming back. That's big stuff. That's red flags with alphabet soup of FAA government administrator type things.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right about that. It's not a good look, especially not even a week into the season. That's just something you don't even fathom seeing about. Yes, they're trying to play it off as horse play.
I got a word for that. I can't finish the second half of it. It's horse something else.
Yes. It does include horse, though. But no, that was not a good look. But hey, they get the win against a really good Houston team. So
maybe the Auburn basketball team needs to be reading that Auburn creed and all that family stuff instead of fighting among each other like that.
No, it's maybe need to have a creed meeting. How about that?
It was a wild scene in Oxford. It was a wild scene in Baton Rouge as well. We'll talk about those two games a lot. And I was at the game in Oxford, and it was just a classic setting, Brian, all day leading up to it, and then the weather, and then the festivities, and the game itself, and how Ole Miss was able to win in dominating fashion over Georgia. And now Ole Miss is firmly back in the college football playoff picture, but there's a lot of moving parts, and a lot of those parts move from the SEC. It could be one titanic logjam.
Yeah, well, and first off, credit to you. You called it on Friday. You said it was not going to be close, that it was going to be all.
I said 35-17.
How about that? That's it's really close to what that final
score was. I think that's 18.
Was. Yeah,
I got on my Archie Manning shirt today. That's a good number at Ole Miss, 18.
It sure is, but
28-10's 18.
It sure is. You called it. You said it was going to be Ole Miss in convincing fashion, and it sure was. And early it did not look like it was going to be that way. First drive, beginning. Jackson Dart throws interception. He comes off limping.
If I'd have been in bed, I'd have pulled the covers up over my head.
You had to go to the young quarterback Simmons after that, and I thought he had a good drive.
He came out slinging.
Sure did. He looked really good in that drive. Then Jackson Dart comes back, and just from there on out, it was all Ole Miss in that game. It was fun to watch, and and then, like we've been talking about for a while, we've said, okay, you take a couple early losses, it doesn't look great, Kentucky, LSU, but hey, there's still a path. You just have to be perfect on that path, and unfortunately for you, that path includes Georgia, and you go out there, if you're Ole Miss, and you beat a good Georgia team, and now you're right back in that mix where you wanted to be.
Great personnel. I don't know right now that Georgia's a great team.
No, I don't think so
either. Great
either.
Personnel.
Yeah.
I think it's the least best Kirby team in this vintage run. Yeah. And for Georgia, now this week at home against Tennessee, and even the rival game at home against Georgia Tech, both of those games, not UMass, both of those games you better look out for sure.
Oh no, 100%. And I saw a stat on ABC during the game, and I mentioned this with John earlier as well. They threw up a stat kind of late in the game. I think only a couple minutes left in the game. I think Georgia turned the ball over again, and they threw up a number on the screen that said first 3 games, Georgia committed 0 turnovers. Since then, they've committed 15 turnovers, and they were saying, I mean, when you have a team that has so much talent, one of the very few ways to lose games and ruin that season, is hurting yourself with turnovers, and that's what they've been doing. You saw it there Saturday night against Ole Miss, and then we had Brett the rare double field storming. You storm it once, and
very rare.
Time still on the clock.
Felt like being at Kennesaw State earlier in the year.
That's right. We talked about it with Kennesaw State earlier this year, and able to get everybody
off
the field.
I was a part of neither storming Saturday night in Oxford.
You know what? Neither was John Harden, and I told him I was a little disappointed that he didn't get on the field. Yes, but
now I know his daughter was a part of it.
She absolutely was. So,
but she has field access.
So she was already on the field.
I had field access, but
but you didn't.
In fact, first storming, I ran from the crowd. I went the opposite way.
You got to get out of the way.
I went up the tunnel. They were coming out. I went up.
That's hilarious. But that was a really fun game and a great scene down in Oxford with Ole Miss winning. And then the other big game that night, Alabama all over LSU. I mean, that was
big,
that was
gigantic can.
Yeah, oh man, it sure was. And always LSU people always talk about impossible to beat LSU at night down in Death Valley. I guess unless you're Alabama, then
Well, it is for everybody but BAMA.
Exactly, and they looked really, really good. Well, we're going to talk a whole lot of football over these next 3 hours, but let me set up today's show before we get to top and not top story of the day. 3:30, Jonah Dillon from the Commercial Appeal. He's the Tiger football beat writer. He'll join us. We'll talk about the Tigers' win Friday night over Rice and this weekend's game against UAB. Senior night for those seniors, including Seth Hennigan, as they'll wrap up their home slate of the season before finishing the year against Tulane on the road. So we'll talk Tiger football with Jonah Dillon at 3:30. 3:45, we'll get into the Tigers basketball win on the road against UNLV Saturday evening, a game that included a 12-point deficit for the Tigers, but also included them shooting 71.4% from the field in the second half. So we'll talk about what we saw in that win for the Tigers. 4 o'clock, David Cobb from CBS Sports. He'll join us, talk some college football and college basketball like we do on Monday afternoons. 4:30, we'll get to our Sissy's Log Cabin, look back at the weekend in the SEC. A lot of good stuff to get to as it was a busy, busy weekend in SEC play. 4:45, we get to big number of the day. 5 o'clock, DeMichael Cole, the Grizzlies beat writer for the Commercial Appeal. He'll join us. We'll talk about the wins that the Grizzlies have had over the last week, and also as they finish this West Coast trip with a couple of games the rest of the week. We'll talk about what to expect, some of those injuries, some of the guys that have really been playing well for the Grizzlies, including those 2 rookies, Zach Edey and Jalen Wells. We'll talk about that at 5 o'clock. 5:30, we get to our Monday Night Football pick and preview for Miami and the Rams tonight. We'll also get to our big 4 defensive players for each team. Tough list, some really good names for both of these teams. So both these lists a little difficult to do, but then at 5:45, we'll wrap up today's show like we always do with Crunch Time. Let me remind you, we're in our Family Leisure studios where family and fun come together. Get over to Family Leisure for the Ultimate Game Room and Fall Sale. Complete the Ultimate Game Room with a new pool table, a shuffleboard, and an arcade game set. Help them clear out their overstock of theater seating. All of it is priced to move. It's also the perfect fire pit weather, so get over there and get one of those fire pits because all of them are 20 to 30% off. And for spas, save up to $1,500 of their in-stock spas, and they're all ready to be delivered. So head over to Family Leisure, 2120 Whitten Road, just north of I-40.
We are Sports Time with Bryant and Brett, and we're with you until 6 o'clock, and we want you to be a part of our show. We're always in our Family Leisure studios, and you can always join our show by texting or calling 901-360-8255. at the Sissy's Log Cabin text and talk line. All our guests will appear at that same number, 901-360-8255 at the Sissy's Log Cabin guest line. This hour brought to you every day by Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and online at lexusofmemphis.com. Great offers on the remaining 2024s, always special leasing options, and the 2025s taking over. Drive in luxury and confidence knowing that every new Lexus comes with complimentary first and second maintenance services. Call them at 901-334-9673. But they want you to stop by the one and only Lexus dealership in Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and put yourself in the driver's seat of the all-new 2025 flagship LS 500, and you'll be looking and you'll be driving in style. When you purchase a Lexus, you get top-of-the-line engineering and design, and they make for the luxury driving experience. Online at lexusofmemphis.com. Experience amazing at Lexus of Memphis.
Top story of the day.
Well, Brett, my top story of the day was the weekend of college football. More importantly, the weekend in the SEC. We had the first college football playoff rankings released last week, and the conversation immediately after those college football playoff rankings were released were the two big games, both coming out of the SEC this weekend. The biggest one was the Alabama and LSU game. Alabama right inside that playoff bracket, and then on the other side, LSU right on the outside of it. Everyone calling it an elimination game. Alabama wins, they stay in. LSU loses, well, they're done. If LSU wins that game, they could jump in, and Alabama could be out. And it was all Alabama in that game, 42-13. Jalen Milroe ran all over the field, 185 yards and 4 rushing touchdowns. A really impressive performance by this Alabama team, an Alabama team that I think a lot of people have been kind of doubting. You know, new coach, new system. They don't look as good as Nick Saban teams usually look around this time, but they go down to LSU and get an emphatic victory. The other big game of the weekend, Georgia and Ole Miss. For Ole Miss, if they wanted their playoff hopes to stay alive, this was a game that they really needed to win. And what they do, they went out and absolutely dominated, 28-10. We got a text message, and thank you as always for the text. Keep sending those in. This text says, I understand the turnover argument, but I think Ole Miss wins that game with 0 UGA turnovers. They were just flat out better team in all phases of the game. I agree. I mean, that Ole Miss team was fantastic on Saturday. It was what I kind of heard all week of I'd heard some people saying, well, Ole Miss looked fantastic against Arkansas, but it's so hard in the SEC to play back-to-back weeks of really good games. But you saw Ole Miss do that on Saturday in a big win. Some of the other teams in the SEC that really needed wins to continue to feel good about their playoff chances. Tennessee, they roll past Mississippi State. Texas gets a huge win over Florida. Missouri, Eli Drinkwitz after the game saying, playoff, here we come. After a wild game. We'll get to more of that game later. I mean, why not?
It's his job to sell his team.
Exactly. You got to sell it. But Missouri had a wild win over Oklahoma as it keeps their hopes alive and keeps them in the top 25. So I thought a really, really fun week around the SEC.
Bryant, true confession time. You ready?
Please.
I was much more nervous about the Arkansas game than I was the Georgia game.
Really?
The Arkansas game was on the road, too.
Yeah.
And Georgia was home. I was scared to death going into the Arkansas game. I felt good all week, and going into the Georgia game. That's my top story. Ole Miss in the corner after losing at home as a 16-point favorite and a heartbreaker to Kentucky, and then lose the heartbreaker in overtime in Baton Rouge. They had to come out swinging, and at halftime of the Oklahoma game, it was stuck in the mud. Spark got lit at that point. Played well in the second half against OU. Played great in the slaughter at Fayetteville over the Razorbacks. And then with the win Saturday, the goalposts come down. 2 field stormings. I don't know if there's going to be 2 fines. There's going to be at least 1. And now Ole Miss back in the college football playoff picture. That home loss against Kentucky will rightly be held against Ole Miss when you're comparing resumes. But also you got to compare the goods, like platform diving, the high and the low. 18 points over Georgia was as close as that game was going to be. I'd play Georgia again today. The whole 9 more times. I wouldn't be scared to run into Georgia in the playoffs. That was the closest the margin was going to be, and I think the closest it would be if they were to meet again. Bring them on. And now we'll see how the rest of the year unfolds. Open date for Ole Miss this week. And remember this, college football fans, in the last 4 years, it's been 2 people that's beat Kirby's Dogs. Alabama and Ole Miss.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
Not top story of the day.
Well, my not top story of the day, Brett, I have some takeaways from the weekend in the NFL, some things I learned over the weekend from the NFL. The first one, never doubt the Steelers. And more importantly, never doubt Mike Tomlin. I mean, what he is as a head coach, incredible. Steelers get a really fun win and a really fun game, 28-27 over the Commanders. The other thing I learned is Lions are they're the best team in football right now. I mean, they are really, really dominant. They are really good, able to win that game last night when a lot of people, I think, probably...
And likable.
Very likable. That's a good point. I think a lot of people might have turned this game off late and said, okay, well, this is all Houston. Probably some people turned it off at halftime and said, well, this
I turned off my Lions.
Well, hey, it's tough
had
to do.
enough weekend.
I mean, you can't spell Jared Goff without INT. 5 interceptions for Jared Goff last night. I know our friend Doug Kazarian was tweeting out the single game record for most interceptions thrown, saying, hey, we're getting kind of close to this. 5 INTs for Jared Goff, but it did not matter because ultimately Detroit came up with some massive stops. Jared Goff got rolling in that second half, and they were able to set up a last-second field goal for Bates, who knocked it down. He's been really good for Detroit, a guy that came from the UFL. And UFL, known for their special teams. I mean, look at the special teamers that have come out of the UFL. The other thing, it's kind of weird. I've been walking around here all day, Brett, and people keep coming up to me talking about this Cowboys team. I've never heard of them. I don't know who they are. I don't know what they've been doing this year.
You've disassociated yourself.
Disassociate? I've never heard of them, Brett. I don't know who they are. I mean,
they're dead to you.
Cowboys, please.
Or were they ever alive to you?
Well, they were, but not anymore. I don't know. Jerry Jones? Who's that? Sounds like a moron.
Day for Dallas.
Well, that's the thing. I'm sitting in church yesterday, Brett, and I start getting alerts on my phone that Dak Prescott's going to have season-ending surgery. I mean, the season was over.
That's a good place
then.
to get that kind of news, though, Brian.
I guess so.
That's a good place to hit a knee. Cut out the middleman. Go straight to him.
Honestly.
Right there at the church house. My not top story. Alabama is the only place in college football where 2 losses would be treated like the end of time, or at least the end of Kalen DeBoer's honeymoon. But they put it on LSU Saturday night. Brian Kelly, he came to the South from Notre Dame to win him a national championship, and he hadn't been close. He really thought, I'm going to go down to the South and get me one of those, kind of in his mock Southern accent. If Les Miles can do it and Ed Orgeron can do it, I know I can do it. Coming in from breaking Newt Rockney's record, he hadn't been close. LSU, get ready for another Texas Bowl or a Citrus Bowl.
Yikes. Yep, that's what it's turning into. That'll do it for top and not top story of the day. Let's go ahead and get to our first break. And when we come back, we're talking some Tiger football, and we do that every week with Jonah Dillon.
Add a little fun to your lunch break. Join Johnny Radio for Sports 56 Happy Hour from 11 to 1 every weekday on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Take your basketball skills to the next level at Shoot 360 Memphis. Shoot 360 is a revolutionary basketball training facility that combines cutting-edge technology with gamification and provides instant, objective feedback with hands-on, one-on-one expert coaching. And now, introducing Shoot 360 Cordova, a newly renovated 50,000-square-foot facility with 2 NBA regulation-sized courts, 3 high school-sized courts, and 4 shooting bays with Shoot 360 technology. Memberships are now on a monthly basis. And yes, you can become a member at both locations. Whether you're an aspiring young talent, NBA player, or looking for a unique workout, all skill levels are welcome at Shoot 360 Memphis to learn proper shooting and passing techniques, improve fundamentals, and gain a competitive edge while having fun. Shoot 360 Memphis now in Cordova and Collierville. Call them today at 901-779-3176. That's 901-779-3176. The future of basketball training is here. Shoot 360 Memphis.
Hello, sports fans out there. Walker Taylor here with the Germantown and Collierville Commissary. We just celebrated our 43rd year in business, and I would like to thank our fantastic customers and especially our loyal staff. Time has flown by. We now have a second location, Poplar and Houston Levy in Collierville. Catering is a specialty of ours. 50 to 5,000, no job too small, no job too big. Full service or self-service. We also have a party room in Collierville that is great for rehearsal dinners, business meetings, you name it, we'd love to have you. Also, our barbecue party packs start at $8.75 a person. Barbecue, beans, slaw, bun sauce, including serving utensils. Especially great for tailgating with football season coming up. Commissary restaurants also believe in giving back to the community. Possibly you have been approached by somebody selling a barbecue six-pack coupon for fundraising. Cheerleading groups, church groups, anything to help a worthy cause. Holidays are near. Smoked hams and smoked turkeys will be on the pit before you know it. Come see us at Germantown and Collierville Commissary. Also check us out at commissarybarbecue.com.
Hi, this is Lauren Choate, Choate's Air Conditioning, Heating, Plumbing, and Generators. Right now, we're offering our Choate's Comfort and Safety Special. For a limited time, when you purchase a $99 tune-up, or if Choate's performs a repair, you'll receive a free 1-year standard fan plan membership at $400 value. Keep your home safe, comfortable, and running smoothly all year long with 2 maintenance visits, priority service, and discounts on future repairs. And for our existing loyal fan plan members, we have something special just for you. Enjoy a $1,000 loyalty coupon toward any new generator, tankless water heater, or HVAC system. It's our way of saying thank you for trusting us with your home. Add value, add comfort, and add safety to your home with Choate's. Call us today at 347-8086 or visit ChoatesHVAC.com. Choate's, let our family serve your family.
Kevin Harlan here from Monday Night Football on Westwood One. Longtime NFL head coach Ron Rivera will join me this week from Los Angeles for the Miami Dolphins at the Rams. Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa and Miami lost a heartbreaker last week in Buffalo. Now they take on Matthew Stafford and a Rams team on a 3-game winning streak. Join us for all the action on Monday Night Football.
Right here on Sports 56.
O'Reilly.
You've got questions? O'Reilly Auto Parts has answers. Need a pro you can trust? We've got that too. No matter what you need, our professional parts people have the training and expertise to help you do things right. Deep automotive knowledge. Just one part that makes O'Reilly stand apart. The professional parts people.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I'm Tiffany, founder of Harlem Pilates. When I couldn't find Pilates in my neighborhood, I started a studio from my studio apartment. Chase 8 helped me grow from 1 Pilates studio to 3. Because when you start small, you're going to need some big help.
Chasing Business Cash Card, you can earn up to 5% cash back on business essentials, so your business can go from here to possible. Chase for business. Make more with yours. Your business owner compensated for the participation. Cards issued by JP Morgan Chase Bank and MMRFS, subject to credit approval. Terms apply.
Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here are your hosts, Brett Stats Sportsworthy and Brian Gates.
Welcome back in Sports Time. Brian and Brett with you in our Family Leisure Studios, and joining us now to talk some Tiger basketball, Tiger football. Jonah Dillon joins us. Jonah, thanks so much for joining us. Go back to Friday night. Tigers playing a Friday night game at home against Rice. They go down early, 6-0 early in that game. Offense wasn't really moving the ball well, but they ultimately able to come back and win that game by 7 points. Ryan Silverfield talked after the game about kind of some of those issues on the offensive side and how they just couldn't get anything going. What did you see, especially early in that game, that was going wrong for that Tiger offense?
Yeah, some of the similar things that we've seen throughout this season. Obviously, the turnover, the interception that Seth Hennigan threw early was the ill-advised pass, and then that set him up in a bad position. and the next drive just kind of goes nowhere. And it was big that the defense came up with 2 red zone stops there, which has been a problem. That was a problem against UTSA, one of the reasons that they struggled in that first half. The defense comes up with 2 red zone stops, forces them to kick 2 field goals, and then the offense kind of started to figure it out, got into the game. And once Memphis went in front, it felt like it was going to be comfortable after that. It was definitely a shaky start, and there were lots of questions, obviously. How were they going to bounce back off of that loss to UTSA? But ultimately, they came in there and they got a win.
Jonah, it's hard to be certainly not mad, but too irritated or disappointed or thinking it should be more from Seth Hennigan. But for his season totals, I'm looking at his 2024 regular season numbers, almost 2,700 yards passing, 17 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. Is that we thought he'd have more than that, didn't we? After 10 games.
Yeah, I mean, I think that people expected him to take another leap off of what he did last season, and you got to note that last season, especially the back half of last season, he was playing really, really good football, and so the bar was really high. Understandably so, right? He came back to this team, and people were talking about him as you look at these rankings before the season started. He's up there as a top 10-ish quarterback in the country, right? Regardless of team, group of 5, anything like that. And so you were expecting another step off of what he's done and what we've seen from him for the first 3 years of his career. It hasn't really happened. We've seen it in spurts. There's been a couple games and a couple moments where he's come up with big plays. I think overall, when you look at his season and like you said with the statistics, it doesn't look like maybe what we expected. And I think that's going to be something that people remember, and it's going to be one of the things that we talk about when we're kind of going back and looking at what exactly happened throughout the course of the season.
And Jonah, I think it's mostly a good thing, and I think the divide, I'm going to use 40 years of age. To under 40 Tiger football fans that are somewhat disgruntled, somewhat disappointed about just being 8-2, I can kind of see your point, but could they please yield to us over 40 and over 50 and over 60-year-old Tiger fans that we're going into 2 games left for the year, and the Tigers are 8-2 and coming off 10-3.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that we've obviously heard more and more over the past couple of weeks. I thought it was really interesting. I talked to Tommy West on Friday, and Saturday was the 15-year anniversary of his, I don't know if we should say famous, infamous press conference after he was fired. And it was really interesting to chat with him and hear kind of his perspective on that, because he's somebody who took over a program that was like you're talking about. It was not good, right? And he raised the bar and then got to the point where he actually, when he looks back on it, he says, well, I got fired because I raised expectations. I didn't meet the new ones. He certainly met the expectations that existed and exceeded them when he took over the program. And then you see from there, it gets raised and raised and raised to the point where Mike Norvell comes here and takes Memphis to the Cotton Bowl. And now the expectation is, let's get back to the Cotton Bowl. And the last 5 years, barring a miracle here in the last 2 weeks of the season, it's going to be 5 years with Memphis not going to an AAC title game, not even getting to the game. And so I think it makes sense that as you win, the expectations raise with that, right? Just because you keep winning, it doesn't mean that you should still be expected to, go 6-6 and go to a bowl game. And so I understand that both sides of it. I understand the part of it that says, look, this program was really bad, really, really bad for a really long period of time. And it's amazing that we've gotten to the point where we talk about 8-2 as being a disappointing season. But at the same time, this team was picked to finish first in the conference. And so if you don't finish first in the conference, then you didn't meet the expectations. With the caveat, obviously, those are really high expectations. It's hard to finish first to win a conference. But I think it's fair to say that if Memphis doesn't make the AAC title game, it's definitely a disappointment in terms of what we thought coming into this season.
That's my peace pipe I want to share. Under 40, you're right, but can you see our point too that are older fans? That's all I want. Brian, jump in.
No.
Yeah, I want to ask about Carmelo Overton, the player that collapsed during the game, got hit by 2 guys on a kickoff, was down on the field for a really long time. They ended up taking him to the hospital. What can you share about what happened and what you know now, I believe, was released from the hospital earlier today? What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, like you said, and that was one of those things. After that happened in the game, it almost, it just feels like the football game doesn't matter anymore, right? Because it was a really scary moment. It was it was a kickoff, and he kind of got hit by 2 Rice players and went down, and then he got up and he was running back kind of on the other side of the field, so he's running across the field to get back to the Memphis sideline, and you see his legs give out as he collapses, and was down on the field for a really long period of time. They brought out the cart. Players were gathered around him, coaches were gathered around him. Eventually, they put him on a stretcher, put him on the cart, and he went to the hospital. After the game, we did hear from Ryan Silverfield and Chandler Martin saying that he was talking and he was okay. It seemed like in the moment and they were okay to obviously continue to play the game. And then today Ryan Silverfield updating us and saying that he was released from the hospital. He was back yesterday at the team facility talking and walking around with everybody. He said it was a spinal injury, and so they've got to do some more tests to figure out exactly what happened. But it's obviously a really positive update that he was okay. He was able to go to the hospital and be with his teammates again. Yeah.
Because Jonah and us older fans, we can remember 1977 and Bill Crumbie being paralyzed on a kickoff on a play. And so us experienced fans, we remember that. And just like the sadness and tragedy at Ole Miss with Chucky Mullins, it was the same at the University of Memphis with Bill Crumbie back in the day in a game against Southern Miss that I remember very, very, very well. With 2 games left, Tigers really show out and look good against UAB this week, and then win the game at Tulane, and then go to a bowl game and defeat a Power 4 team. I know we're not going to have the wave of optimism we had this year, and I think it'll be largely because not returning that player at quarterback like Seth Hennigan. But would that somewhat satisfy and maybe quieten down, and maybe people in the offseason have some perspective of, this is pretty good. This is not so bad.
Look, that's a great question. I don't know. I think ultimately, like the thing is with last season, and you just mentioned it there, right? Like last season was disappointing. People thought that Memphis should have gone to the AAC title game and potentially gone to the New Year's Six bowl game, and they obviously didn't do that. Then at the end of the season, you have a lot of things moving in a really positive direction. Right before the bowl game, you have Seth Hennigan, Rock Taylor, Chandler Martin coming back. Then you have this win over an Iowa State team that looks better and better. Well, maybe not the last 2 weeks, but until then, it looks like a really good win. And it was also their best performance of the season. So it was reason to be optimistic heading into this season. But we have to remember that the end of last season was about this season. It was about what they were setting up. This season was so important because it's the first year of the expanded playoff, because for the first time ever, Memphis has access to the highest levels of the postseason. And so I don't think that even if they win a couple of games, like you said, if they go beat Tulane and they win a bowl game, it's not going to be about next season, right? Because there's so many question marks that we're going to have when this season ends with who's going to play almost every position on offense next season. It's really wild as we go into senior day on Saturday to look at all the players that are going to be gone and what they've meant to this program. But I just don't think that the conversation is going to be the same. We're going to be in an unknown, basically, once this season ends and we look at what's happening next year. And so I just think it's going to be tough to look back on this because this is really the end of this era of Memphis. Now, that doesn't mean that the next era can't be better, but I don't think that it's going to be about setting up next season as much as it was last year. And so for that reason, I just think it's going to be a more kind of nuanced and difficult conversation when we look back on assessing how this season went.
Mm-hmm. So this Saturday, Tigers' final home game of the season against UAB, another very winnable game for the Tigers' UAB team. Only 2 wins of the season. A couple weeks ago, they beat Tulsa at home, and then going all the way back to the first game of the season when they beat Alcorn State. They have their own issues, plenty of issues on that UAB side, but it will be senior day for a lot of those guys, including a guy we talked about a couple minutes ago, Seth Hennigan.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think to me that's the story of this week is this, and in college football now, like we kind of lose perspective of it, obviously, because it happens at Memphis, but the fact that Seth Hennigan played 4 years here, the fact that Greg Rubin, Rock Taylor, guys who played as true freshmen, stay here for 4 years, it's really rare, and I'm not sure that we're going to see it again. The amount of guys that are going to walk across there on Saturday before the game on senior day who have been with this program for a really long time. And obviously there are guys who have transferred in too. I mean, Mario Anderson, somebody who had a really significant impact this year in just 1 year. But this era of Memphis football, I think, ends at the end of this season. And I think, kind of going back to the last question, I think that we're going to look back on this season and group it into Seth Hennigan and Rock Taylor's entire career.
Yeah.
Really with Seth Hennigan, he was the first quarterback that Ryan Silverfield recruited, right? And so that's a big thing. And so to me, like, part of Saturday is a celebration for a lot of people of that class and those guys who have been with this program for so long. And part of it is going to be, let's talk about their legacy, right? And their legacy with Seth Hennigan is that, you know, the early draft of it is that he threw for a lot of yards and a lot of touchdowns and is going to have a lot of records for a long time. But also Memphis, it looks like, is never going to go to an AAC title game. And so I think that's going to be the conversation going into it. And I think next year at this time, we're going to feel like it's a whole nother era of this program, and so this is kind of the end of it.
Yeah, it's an interesting conversation. But Jonah, as always, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll talk to you again next Monday.
Yep, thanks for having me.
Thanks, Jonah.
Thank you, Jonah.
Jonah Dillon joining us to talk some Tiger football, recapping that win over Rice, and then Senior Day this weekend against UAB. But let's go ahead, get to another break. When we come back, Tiger basketball, they were in action Saturday evening against UNLV out in Vegas. They get a win to start the season 2-0. So when we come back from this break, we'll talk about Tiger basketball, what we saw in that win over UNLV. We'll do that next on Sports Time.
Join the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin, for Wolo and Friends. Weekday mornings from 10 to 11 here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
For life's spectacular moments, only a real diamond will do. At Sissy's Log Cabin, you'll discover a brilliant selection of natural diamonds, along with our promise of unmatched quality and service. The only real diamond is a natural diamond from Sissy's. Find yours when you stop by any of our 6 locations or shop online at sissyslogcabin.com. Discover the natural diamond of your dreams only at Sissy's Log Cabin, because life's too short for ordinary jewelry.
Hi, this is Troy Five-Ash, owner of Five-Ash Roofing. Did you know there are so many roofing companies in Memphis that I don't even know them all? So that begs the question, which one should you choose? So I thought I'd give you a little background about me. My grandfather was a World War II Marine. My father worked for the University of Memphis for nearly 30 years. My mother, a pianist at Raleigh Baptist Church. Seems like forever. I went to Brownsville Road, Craigmont, and Bartlett High School, class of 81. We support the local school systems, youth athletics, and believe in what St. Jude and Le Bonheur stand for. I'm a Tiger and Grizz fan. The point? Memphis is my home. Five-Ash Roofing will be around if you ever have a problem with the service we provide. Five-Ash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical, with deep local ties in our community. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Five-Ash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like you know to check that your seats are in the visitor section first before buying tickets.
I'm so excited for this game. I can't believe we got us tickets.
Me too. Look, are we on the wrong side?
Yeah, checking first this time. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds.
This is going to be a long game.
You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Napa Cafe celebrates 26 years in 2024. Hi, I'm Glenda Hastings, owner of Napa Cafe, and I want to thank you for making us part of your dining experiences. Treat yourself tonight with a delightful dinner. Maybe start with an appetizer like our baked sweet peculiar peppers stuffed with goat cheese and mozzarella, finished with basil pistou, and move on to one of our cozy dishes like the double chocolate stout braised boneless beef short ribs with tonkatsu sauce and creamy mashed potatoes, or a fresh seafood dish like our pan-roasted ginger buttered sea bass with cilantro soy vinaigrette. I get hungry just talking about it. Don't forget about dessert, our famous sweet buttermilk pie with brown sugar sauce, or drink your dessert with one of our signature dessert cocktails, like the lemon cheesecake martini, lemony, icy, frothy, and dusted with graham cracker crumbs. Napa Cafe, open Wednesday through Saturday for dinner starting at 5 o'clock. For reservations, visit our website at napacafe.com. Come join us as we celebrate 26 years of Napa Cafe. We can't wait to serve you.
I'm with John Burgos from the world-famous Rendezvous in the Alley since 1948.
Brett, we have catered parties all over this country and all over the world, from Singapore, Australia, to Central Park in New York. But many people don't realize how much we do locally. For holiday events, office parties, tailgating, birthday parties, you can't do better than the Rendezvous. For example, you can get a cheese and sausage tray for 15 to 300 people for $3.75 per person. You can even build your own nacho bar for $10.50 per person. All you need is a minimum of 15 people and many cases, we can arrange delivery and full-service catering. We've even made it easy to get to-go items. You can just park at our front door in the alley, put on your flashes, and we'll get you going ASAP. For all your catering items and prices, go to hogsfly.com, click on menu, and drop down to catering.
Thank you, John. The Rendezvous, Mr. Charlie Burgos' Rendezvous, in the alley since 1948 and celebrating its 75th year.
Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here are your hosts, Brett Stats Norsworthy and Brian Davis.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you, and we talked some Tiger football in the last segment with Jonah Dillon. Now we got to talk Tiger basketball. They get the win over the weekend against UNLV, a back-and-forth game. Tigers trailed early in the first half. They were down by as many as 12 points in the first half, about 4 minutes to go. They were able to come back, make it a 4-point game at the half. But then in that second half, Tigers come out and shoot the ball really, really well. 71.4% from the field in that second half, and they go on to win the game on the road, a big-time road victory for Penny Hardaway and the Tigers to start the season. Brett, we talked about it earlier, 80-74 win. I don't know how good Missouri or UNLV teams will be this season, but I do know it is hard to win games on the road in November, and I think against a Mountain West opponent, that's a good road win to start the season.
There are a couple of things out of these first two wins that I like. I know Saturday they had a few more turnovers than UNLV did, but in neither game has it been a turnover fest. And in both games for the Memphis Tigers going to the charity stripe, it's been right there at a percentage you can live with all year long. Go to the free throw line. They call them free.
Yeah.
Go to the free throw line and knock them down. Saturday only made 6 threes. I'd like 8 minimum out of every game, but good enough. I'm concerned about some depth issues, but there's right now on Tiger basketball and college basketball in general, I'm more about what I don't know. Like, tomorrow when we get on what we know about the NFL and college, right now I could kind of do from now till midnight on what I really don't know about college basketball. If you're smart enough to know a lot more than I do right now, fine. Anybody else, fine. But I know this, in the immediacy of it, being 2-0 puts off a lot of other conversations that I know people would be having. If you want to fret and warn about the pending disaster coming, go right ahead. You may end up being right, and I didn't see it, but I'm going to deal in the immediacy. I'm not going to deal in a TikTok video.
I love it. I think you said it earlier. I mean, we would be having way different conversations about this team if they were 1-1 or 0-2. But 2-0, you got to be happy. I think any team in the country right now that's 2-0 is happy with the way their team has started. And so, we know how tough this non-conference schedule is. And so I think when you win these games, it's good because it's going to get tougher. You've got Maui, you've got those road games against the ACC teams, you've got a couple more games against SEC opponents. And so, you win these games, and I like the fight we've seen from this team in every game. You get down in the first half, and you fight back. In the second half, you look much better. Now, sure, that could become an issue down the stretch, but right now, seeing this team fight and be able to climb back in these games, you definitely have to be happy with the way they're playing.
I'm a little worried about how deep this team is, but I think sometime, especially in this time of year, and I always blanch at this conversation of, 9, 10, 11, 12 guys, one ball. How are we ever going to exist? I don't know that I mind it kind of be maybe a little tighter rotation, and they have to go with it all year because so many times at 9, 10, 11, one ball garbage in November and December, that doesn't end up panning out. You get into 20th of February and on, you get down to about 7 cats you got to go with, and that's who you win with. And so Memphis may be having to do that really early and log a lot of playing time. I don't know how happy or contented Dane Danger is if it's one leg out, but right now, Saturday, 9 and 11, I'll take. While he's here, do that.
Sure, yeah. No, I think you take that. And, I think going back to what you're talking about with minutes, I think I would like to see, more production from those guys on the bench. I think a lot of people are like that, but especially early on, and, if you're having some issues with guys scoring or being productive off the bench, especially the way the Tigers' schedule is lined up so far. You had a game last Monday, then you played on Saturday, and now you don't play again until Friday. These young guys, they can play 40 minutes a game and then have a whole week off and be ready to play 40 minutes again the next game. So I don't think it's really an issue right now, like you said. And
I like this backcourt.
Yeah, I like this backcourt as well.
PJ Haggerty can really go.
He's a he can fill up the stat sheet, and certainly I was saying earlier, has some Kendrick Davis in him, where Kendrick Davis was so good about when he was driving into the lane, you had a pretty good chance he was going to get fouled and go to the line, and PJ Haggerty has a lot of that in him.
He does. Now, I've been clear through the years at wherever he's been, whether it was Memphis first tour duty, Oklahoma State, last year at Ole Miss, or back at Memphis. I think we know what you have in Cisse.
Sure, yeah, and wasn't great on Saturday, and so you'll see what he can do, and I don't think this is going to be a guy that is going to be a starter. I think this is going to be a guy that comes off the bench.
But my story didn't have to change. I thought he was a stiff at Memphis, was at Oak State, was last year at Ole Miss. Said it during the year when he was at Ole Miss, never dreaming he'd be back at Memphis.
And here we are.
Nothing has changed.
No, and so I think if you're going to call Moussa Cisse this season a success for him, he's got to be more productive off the bench. He was very productive in that first game. He was great in that first game. But it cannot be a roller coaster this season where it's, one good game, a couple bad games, one good game, a couple bad games, and obviously still very early in the season. But yeah, you look at those guys off the bench, and you really want more from those guys, and you just didn't get that Saturday against UNLV. But it was okay because you look at those starters, how many minutes they logged and what they did. You look at PJ Haggerty, Nicholas Jourdain, and Tyrese Hunter in the second half. 36 points combined between those three guys, 14 for 19.
You didn't need
the field combined. Those three guys were able to put the team on their back and go out there and secure that win. And so now Tigers 2-0. They'll get some time off before Friday when they take on Ohio. I thought Ohio would be a good team and a tough team. We'll talk more about this game throughout the week, but I've watched a little bit of first two games. This Tigers team has a really good shot to start 3-0 this season.
We got to ask Bill Bender on Thursday, proud Ohio grad.
That's right.
Do they do the OH thing?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think you can.
Or is that just Buckeyes?
I think that's just Buckeyes. You can't. I would take offense if Ohio was doing
I don't want to cross any decorum lines.
Right. Well, it's a good question. We'll have to ask him on Thursday. We'll have to remember that and ask him when we talk to him on Thursday. But let's go ahead and wrap up this hour and get to a break. And when we come back, start our second hour. David Cobb, he'll join us. We'll talk college football and college basketball. That's next on Sports Time.
Choate's Air Conditioning, Heating, Plumbing, and Generators. Right now, we're offering our Choate's Comfort and Safety Special. For a limited time, when you purchase a $99 tune-up, or if Choate's performs a repair, you'll receive a free 1-year standard fan plan membership at $400 value. Keep your home safe, comfortable, and running smoothly all year long with 2 maintenance visits, priority service, and discounts on future repairs. And for our existing loyal fan plan members, we have something special just for you. Enjoy a $1,000 loyalty coupon toward any new generator, tankless water heater, or HVAC system. It's our way of saying thank you for trusting us with your home. Add value, add comfort, and add safety to your home with Choate's. Call us today at 347-8086 or visit ChoatesHVAC.com. Choate's, let our family serve your family.
Locally owned and operated for over 40 years, Automatic Gates Construction tailors custom gate solutions for all your residential, commercial, and industrial needs, including repairs, maintenance, and installation. Automatic Gates Construction specializes in designing and installing automatic gates and fencing that seamlessly blends security, functionality, and aesthetic appeal. Elevate the safety and efficiency of your property with a premium gate solution. Automatic Gates Construction at myautomaticgates.com.
A new era of chicken is here to stay, and it's not your parents' poultry. The Cantina chicken menu from Taco Bell is slow roasted and perfectly seasoned. Take it tacoed up in a crispy white corn tortilla with cheese inside and out, or wrapped in a burrito with fresh purple cabbage and freshly prepared pico de gallo. However you like it, you'll never chicken the same way again. Get yours today at your nearest Taco Bell and join rewards to earn free food. Available at participating stores. Rewards points are earned on qualifying purchases. All items while supplies last. Subject to change.
You know the great thing about having an event catered by Central Barbecue?
What was that?
They turn any event into a cookout.
You stole that directly from their website.
Well, I didn't expect you to have looked at their website.
I've got events coming up. It's the holiday season, and there's no better way to make things easier than to have Central Barbecue cater it.
They have everything. Box lunches, meat platters, nacho bar kits.
And half and full sheet pans of their traditional barbecue sides. I'm looking at the website right now. You're quoting it verbatim.
Not exactly verbatim.
Word for word. This is a new level of lazy even by your standards.
That doesn't make it any less true. You can't beat Central Barbecue Catering.
It's just plagiarism.
I'm with John Burgos from the world-famous Rendezvous in the Alley since 1948.
Brett, we have catered parties all over this country and all over the world, from Singapore, Australia, to Central Park in New York. But many people don't realize how much we do locally. For holiday events, office parties, tailgating, birthday parties, you can't do better than the Rendezvous. For example, you can get a cheese and sausage tray for 15 to 300 people for $3.75 per person. You can even build your own nacho bar for $10.50 per person. All you need is a minimum of 15 people. In many cases, we can arrange delivery and full-service catering. We've even made it easy to get to-go items. You can just park at our front door in the alley, put on your flashes, and we'll get you going ASAP. For all your catering items and prices, go to hogsfly.com, click on menu, and drop down to catering.
Thank you, John. The Rendezvous, Mr. Charlie Burgos' Rendezvous in the Alley since 1948 and celebrating its 75th year. Jason's Deli. When you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises. Just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it. Because you're not just taking a bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets with vegan and gluten-free options available. Convenience and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com. So whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby. At Jason's Deli with locations at Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, Poplar in Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Jason's Deli. It's wholesome food and no surprises.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. There's a couple of EMS calls out here the last few minutes. Looks good at the moment over here in the construction zone. It got a little bit busy earlier. 55 northbound up by South Parkway. Traffic still moving south of Memphis as you travel on down 55, passing State Line Road through South Haven all the way down into DeSoto County. Affordable, compassionate veterinarian care right now at the Humane Society of Memphis, Shelby County. Log on to memphishumane.org and check out the animals that are up for adoption. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis with Dave Woloshin, weekday mornings from 10 to 11. Joining Brian and Brett now on Sportstime is National College Football writer for CBS Sports, Memphis native and Tennessee grad, who you can find on Twitter X at David W. Cobb. It's David Cobb.
David Cobb joins us now from CBS Sports, talk some college football and college basketball. David, I'm sure it was the same for you, seeing as your duties are both college football and college basketball at CBS. For me, I just tortured myself for enjoyment over the weekend, trying to juggle the first weekend of college basketball and a very important weekend of college football. So before we get to any of the college football stuff, I do want to start off with some college basketball things, and I want to start off with the Memphis Tigers. We just discussed the Tigers and the basketball team's win over UNLV to end our first hour, and Brett and I both said early in the season, no matter who you are, to be able to say after 2 games, you're 2-0 with victories over an SEC team and on the road against a Mountain West team, you've got to be happy with the performances being 2-0 against those two type of teams.
Without a doubt. I think if you'd asked anybody before the season, what's even the likelihood of you winning both of those games against quality opponents? I would have put the odds at less than 50-50. I mean, I figured, very, very much within the realm of possibility that Memphis would have lost one of those 2 games, and they didn't. And in both cases, which has kind of become their MO already, rallying and coming back in the second half and playing with their hair on fire when the game is on the line. Now, can you survive playing like that? Is it a sustainable recipe? Not so sure. We're going to find out because they're playing UConn in the Maui Invitational here coming up in a couple of weeks. But yeah, with such a new team, a new roster, and new system, to be 2-0, yeah, you'll take that every day of the week. And then, you got to keep getting better. Like this time last year, maybe we all got fooled by the hot start. I don't think anyone's getting fooled this year, including Penny Hardaway. And so it's okay, we're 2-0, but we got to keep improving.
And David, before they get to Bucolic, Maui, and play UConn and have 3 tough games out there, that a week ago when we did W's and L's, I just kind of went a blanket 1-2 in Maui. I think I would amend that now to 2-1, not defeating UConn, but maybe garnering 2 wins out there. But before that, Ohio Friday night at home, and then on the way to Maui, a game against the San Francisco Dons. San Francisco's 2-0, and Ohio's 1-1. Neither of those games are gimmies.
There's not a single gimme on the entire Memphis non-conference basketball schedule, because you look at it coming into the season, Ohio was picked to win the MAC, according to Blue Ribbon. UNLV picked to finish 5th in the Mountain West, which is a league that got 5 or 6 teams into the NCAA tournament last year. San Francisco, they're picked to finish in the upper quadrant of a WCC that now has Washington State and Oregon State. So you go down the list of this Memphis non-conference schedule, even your Louisiana Techs and your Arkansas States are among the better teams in their league. And so there isn't a Jackson State or a team that's out there in the 300s of the rankings on their schedule. So every single non-conference game is really difficult. In fact, I'll go as far to say that almost every single non-conference game is more difficult than anyone they're going to play in conference. Because I even think that the Louisiana Techs and the Arkansas State, they're as good or better than probably 2/3 of the teams in the American.
Well, so Arkansas State hanging around with Alabama over the weekend.
Yeah, I love the schedule. I mean, obviously a huge year for Penny Hardaway. For his future, he's got to win games. But I've always said this about him, and it's true. He can put together a roster, and he can put together a schedule. There is no debating his ability to do either of those two things. He's done it again here.
David, and speaking of Arkansas State and what Brian Hodgson is starting to rightly get widely recognized for, Brian and I did notice it last year with them right here in the area, and the link to Nate Oates and all that good stuff. And when I say this, I'm not talking just about the Memphis Tigers, but everybody out there with these dream wish lists of coaches, and they all starting with Will Wade. To heck with that. I would start with Hodgson, way ahead of him.
He is going to be one of those disciples from the Nate Oates coaching tree, and it's going to be real interesting to monitor that coaching tree, because from a schematic standpoint, Nate Oates is on the forefront of what it takes to win, not just in college basketball, but in basketball in general. If you guys, keep track of the NBA, which I know you do, you realize just the extent to which the three-point shot has become everything in the NBA. You watch the Grizzlies, and it's like every 5 seconds, one of those Grizzlies players is getting up a 3-pointer. That's kind of the way Alabama plays, and Brian Hodgson has taken that and put it to use in Jonesboro. And so, yeah, he's definitely one to monitor, because they had a good first year under him last year, and now, it looks like he's got a squad once again. So if he puts together back-to-back 20-win seasons there at Arkansas State, you can absolutely start penciling his name in for some of the openings.
David, the Auburn plane incident, do you think and should, because that would be federal charges for anyone else on a commercial flight. Now, I know they weren't trying to get into the cabin, into the cockpit. I know that. But for anyone else acting like that, when you landed, there would be authorities waiting for you. Do you think that could happen?
It seems unlikely, because I'm assuming it was a charter. I'm assuming there weren't civilians on this plane. I'm assuming it was.
I bet your boosters were on it.
Yeah. You'd have to have somebody pushing the envelope there. Who's going to push the envelope and say there needs to be charges filed here? I mean, is there a federal?
The pilot should.
Yeah, but what's that pilot's relationship like with Auburn Athletics? How much of that pilot's income is tied to flying charter for Auburn sports? I don't know, but it's crazy, isn't it? The first week of the college basketball season, we got two pretty wild stories out of the SEC with Todd Golden down at Florida, and now this plane incident at Auburn. And then how about Auburn finding a way to win the game?
How about that?
Virtually a road game at Houston. I mean, never would have picked them to win the game outright to start with, and certainly wouldn't have picked them to win it outright after they got in a fight.
Bruce Pearl's a survivor, man. He's one of the toughest humans ever.
He is. He absolutely
he's a fighter.
is. Yeah,
how about that?
impressive. Yeah.
Maybe too soon. I don't know.
I love Bruce Pearl.
Yeah, he's a great catch.
That really bad scene. Go ahead, Brian. I'm sorry.
No, you're absolutely fine. You mentioned the Todd Golden story that came out, I believe, Friday afternoon, the good work from the student newspaper down at Florida to really break that news and start that conversation on Friday. Now, the school has come out, said he's still going to coach tonight. They play Grambling. I believe this weekend they play Florida State, either Friday or Saturday. What did you make of this story, and what do you think happens from here with Todd Golden in Florida?
It's hard for me to see a path forward if these allegations are true.
Yeah,
they're allegations, but they're not the type of allegations that are just merely a he said, she said. This is something that there should be proof of. Now, I realize you can do disappearing messages on Instagram and all this. Some of that stuff might be hard to recover. But here's the deal with the Title IX investigation. I can't speak specifically to the University of Florida, but at a lot of universities now, they have these Title IX offices, and they operate almost as individual entities separated from the university.
Oh, they
separated from athletics.
Yeah.
And they have to be, because otherwise the influence, the power of the athletics realm
would get crushed.
Yes, exactly. And that's why there hasn't been any action. Is because this Title IX investigation is occurring without the interference, I certainly hope, from the athletics, and without the interference from an interim university president there at the University of Florida. So that Title IX office is in a, they've got their guardrails up, so they're not looping in the athletic director Scott Strickland on well, here's what we found today. Because this is as it should be. It's operating within its own lane without interference from the powerful people on that campus who might want to try to cover it up. And so once that investigation is done, I'm sure there's going to be action. And if they find even a morsel of truth in it, it's hard to imagine Todd Golden continuing on as coach.
I mean, it truly acts as the legitimate independent counsel. And if anybody from that athletics department, if they even tried to maybe get some information, have a friend over there, tell me what's going on in the investigation. I mean, everybody gets bulldozed if that happened. Can you imagine a worse weekend for Scott Strickland? How does he survive, David?
Oh, there's no way he can. We're talking about. I mean, you tell me, Brett. How many coaching hires has he made in football now? He's got Napier on his hands. He's got Mullen. I mean, for crying out loud, did he hire
Michael White
and McElwain? Yeah, Mike White. I mean, he's just.
I don't know that he hired Mike White, but but he was there when he was, just kind of languishing around. But David, I'll believe it when I see it, because Scott Strickland is one of the untouchables around the league. And it goes back to, and he was very popular when he was just a media relations guy with the league office at Kentucky, built a lot of friends, really knew how to network. And I mean this with respect. He a great backslapper, very garrulous. He's one of the untouchables. And then he was right in the middle of all the stuff in the Egg Bowl world with Leo Lewis and The Wire, and he never got a glove laid on him in any of that.
Yeah. Well, just look at it at the athletic department he presides over now. It's an absolute chaos, an absolute turmoil. In the days of Urban Meyer and the days of Billy Donovan and the days of Kevin O'Sullivan in baseball running that sport, those days are long gone. And it's not like they're just not good. Yeah, sure, they're not good. But there's chaos in the basketball program right now. The football program has stammered and sputtered and struggled to get its NIL act together. Billy Napier, I mean, we're putting this, quote, vote of confidence in him for what? He's well below 500, massively underperforming relative to Dan Mullen in recruiting, too. And that's why we fired Dan Mullen, right? Because, well, he can't recruit. Have you looked at Florida's current recruiting rankings under Billy Napier? The only team worse right now in the SEC for the class of 2025 is Vanderbilt. So what are we doing? It's wild to look at Florida and the fall from grace over the last 5 to 6 years. I mean, that athletic department is in turmoil. There's nothing going for it right now in the right direction. And the only reason Scott Strickland still has a job is because there's an interim president at the university. And I think that's bought him some time.
And why can't Florida and Arkansas get NIL right for football? I know Arkansas's got it right for basketball because I know Boogie Flan's not playing for free. I know DJ Wagner and his dad and his granddad, they know the pay game as well as anybody, and they've pulled it off for 40 years. So don't tell me Arkansas don't know how to do it in at all, because they're doing it for John Calipari, who'd never taken the job. But why Arkansas and Florida keep swinging and missing on NIL in football, and every time they want to say about Lane or Drinkwitz or anybody else in the league, I want to tell them, memo to y'all, it's legal.
Yeah, it is. And you don't play the game, you fall behind. And that's what happened in Florida. Because, they had Jaden Rashada lined up to come and play quarterback for him. And then that fell apart because they couldn't get the NIL collective on the rails. They lose a guy like Princely Uman Mielen to Ole Miss. Why is Florida losing an elite defensive lineman to
Chris Paul and Rocket Sanders in football?
It's yeah, exactly at
Arkansas.
And so 100%. That should be embarrassing. That should be embarrassing when that happens. It's like a free agent choosing the Grizzlies over the Lakers. It's you just don't expect it, and it shouldn't be that way.
Lane waltzed into Gainesville and Fayetteville and got Princely and Chris Paul right under their noses.
And look at how it's paying off for the Rebels, man. I mean, when you get the NIL thing in order, good things follow, and that's what we're seeing at Ole Miss. You want to boil it down to why Ole Miss was able to beat Georgia after losing to Georgia by 35 last season? Well, look at what they went out and got on the defensive front. We mentioned two of them already, Chris Paul and Princely, and then you throw in Walter Nolan, who, oh, by the way, also came from an SEC school. Mm-hmm. And there you have it right there. You can boil it down to how much better Ole Miss got defensively.
J.J. Pegues came from Auburn.
He did, yeah, an Oxford native who's now a multifaceted player carrying the rock, man.
Almost got loose on that touchdown. If he had scored, I would have definitely violated the no cheering in the press box. He almost got loose and scored on the power play.
Well, he did. He's got some wiggle to him for sure. And I had y'all up on the Learfield broadcast prior to the game, just kind of listening to some of your analysis because I had some of the live blog responsibilities for our site. And y'all sounded great, and your points proved salient because you were talking about how whoever wins the line of scrimmage is going to win this game.
It was the easiest analysis ever, David. Almost anybody that walked through the Grove Saturday could have said this is a line of scrimmage game.
And it was. And how about two things that stood out from that game? beyond just the line of scrimmage and the tearing down the goalposts and all the whole scene, right? Because these things might get forgotten. The series that Austin Simmons played at quarterback was impressive.
Man. Yeah, it was.
Didn't expect that, but that dude's he's got a future. And then also Caden Davis making all 5 of his field goal attempts, including a couple that were pretty long missiles there. I mean, you don't see that in college football very often for a kicker to go 5 of 5. I mean, that's, college kickers lose games more often than they win them games, it feels like. But, I mean, I think Caden Davis and Austin Simmons, boy, I know there's only one game ball to get handed out, and that one probably goes to Jackson Dart. But boy, if there were 3 game balls to go around, I'd strongly consider giving them to those 2 guys.
And Jackson Dart, that was his Ole Miss signature moment. That game and kind of the coach quarterback connection, kind of his Matt Corral game, the game Matt had up on Rocky Top in 2021. And when he came back out heavy limp, and there would be no way he could play this week. It's going to take a lot to get him ready for down at Gainesville. But you're right about Austin Simmons. And David, I tell everybody, Lane's going to be back next year, and he's going to be fine. He's ready to show people that he's not a 2-trick quarterback coach with Matt Corral and Jackson Dart. He's ready for Austin Simmons, and something else that he tells Austin Simmons and every quarterback recruit that he has. And if he gets back in on Deuce Knight or any quarterback he has, I'm going to recruit a quarterback every year, and every spring's going to be an open competition. There's no depth chart. Ever August 1st is going to be open competition. And ask Jackson Dart about after you win the job, he started opening game 22, and then in week 2, Luke Altmaier played. John Rice Plumlee almost beat out Matt Corral for the starting quarterback job back in 2020. He's always going to make that position compete.
Yeah, and the further evidence of that is the fact that Walker Howard's not the backup. I mean, that's a former highly touted prospect who transferred in from LSU. And I guess going into the season, I just assumed, well, if Jackson Dart goes down, then Walker Howard's going to be the next guy up. But it's Austin Simmons, who I think on Saturday he had just turned 19 years old. He's a guy who reclassed 2 years. You never see this. But Simmons was originally a class of 2021 guy and then reclassed of 23. So really, I guess should have been a senior in high school this season or last season. Anyway, he reclasses. He's super young. He goes in there and just marches right down the field against Georgia's defense. And that was totally unexpected because in the first 5 minutes of that game, I think myself and most people around the country were watching that game and thinking, well, it's another Kirby Smart showing who's boss sort of game. Lane Kiffin can't win the big one, and here we go again. And then the next 55 minutes just completely shut down that narrative and totally changed the perception around Ole Miss. And then, oh, by the way, it backs Georgia into a corner this week, hosting Tennessee, to where the Bulldogs have to win this week or else they can kiss their college football playoffs hopes goodbye.
Yeah. Austin Simmons also plays baseball, too, so add on another interesting fact about him. I mean, kid's incredible. Yeah. The other big game in the SEC on Saturday, Alabama and LSU, a game that I think a lot of people, people were saying before the game that this was an elimination game for the college football playoffs, but I think a lot of people thought LSU was going to be really competitive in that game, maybe even beat Alabama at home, but it was all Alabama from start to finish in that game.
It was, yeah. Jalen Milroe he is so explosive.
Yeah, he is.
He is so fast. It's incredible. That game-sealing 70-whatever-yard touchdown run, he was the fastest player on the field, and it wasn't even close. I mean, he was out running, and it's not just the first step. Like, his first step is quicker than the first step of pretty much any quarterback in college football. But then he maintains that speed as well. I'd love to see what he could run in a 100-yard dash, because I think he might be able to help out, the Team USA in the next Olympics. I mean, he's that fast, and that for a guy to also be that physical at the same time is pretty remarkable. So that was a big time showing from Alabama. And boy, look at those SEC standings right now. Look at this 12-team playoff, and tell me how it's going to work, because man, there's a lot of teams fighting for a few spots, and it's going to be wild, and there's going to be somebody who gets left out who maybe shouldn't from the SEC. And I'm kind of looking forward to how this plays out, but I'm also just kind of bracing for impact with the furor and the anger that's going to emanate from, whatever campus is left on the wrong side of this thing.
David, what would be the big question you would want to ask members of the committee and be in that room today, deliberation tomorrow, before the reveal tomorrow night?
Well, it's clear they don't value resumes, really. If they did, BYU would have been a whole lot higher than Miami. Instead, they were separated by 5 spots, Miami being way too far ahead. So if you don't really care a whole lot about resume, then how do you define, quote, best? Because they want the, quote, best 12 teams. But to me, that is so way too subjective. There's way too much wiggle room when you're trying to decipher who is the, quote, best. And, I'd really like to know, like, they would just spit out, oh, well, we look at these, 6 metrics or whatever. But when you look at so many different metrics, I think what you can ultimately draw back on or fall back on is like the logos and the helmets and the brands and the ratings. And that's what I don't want, and that's, I'm afraid this 12-team field is going to be composed of brands as opposed to maybe the most deserving. I
want the 12 best.
Yeah, but it's just, how do you get to the quote best? And I wish resume had a larger say in that, because when you do best, I think you do open the door for a 3-loss SEC team or something, and I don't particularly want to see that. I think any 2-loss SEC team probably has a really good case. But if we start doing something, if Georgia loses Tennessee this week, and ESPN starts talking about how, the Bulldogs, according to our All-State predictor, they still have a
game score.
Such a chance. Get out of here with that.
No.
I mean, come on.
3 losses, I think, eliminated you from participation.
It should this year for sure. And I think in future years it might be different. I think in future years there will be circumstances, that warrant a 3-loss team being considered. But this year it's really crowded, and that crowd is not really thinning out. I mean, you look at BYU, kind of getting a lucky win late Saturday night. They're now in a position where that they could be undefeated and lose a game in the Big 12 championship. The Big 12 champion
Great
get
game,
in,
though.
And then BYU is sitting there with only 1 loss in their conference title game, and they could be in 2. So you could have 2 from the Big 12. And then what do you do in the ACC if it's 1 loss Miami versus 1 loss SMU? What do you do with the loser of that game in the title game? Because that could really put the squeeze on the SEC and the Big Ten if both those conferences somehow ended up with 2 qualifiers.
Yeah, no, it's definitely going to be interesting. I'm curious to see what it looks like tomorrow night when we get the second edition of the College Football Playoff Rankings for this year. But as always, David, thanks so much for joining us. You're going on paternity leave, so we will not talk to you for a while. Congratulations, and good luck with the newborn.
Thanks. I'm
you got the easier part of the 2 paternity leaves.
Yeah, I do. I have the easier job here for sure in my marriage, but I'm also a little worried. I just don't do well around like blood. Anyway, I'm just worried. Y'all check on me. I know we're not going to talk next week, but just check on me because it's going to be a wild ride here. But
Dave, we love you and Sarah.
Yeah.
I appreciate that, and I'm looking forward to talking to you guys in the new year. We'll have a lot to catch up on.
Yes, we will.
We will.
I think here in about 6 weeks. So I'm looking forward to it.
Thanks, David.
Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
Our friend David Cobb, and he will be back with us after the new year when he's got the new edition. We're really excited for them, and we sure understand. And I am glad the guys now can get the leave, and because it's a lot of work, and Mom sure will need it. It is the thankful month for all of us, and at All Star Chevrolet and Olive Branch, they've got red tags everywhere, and that means savings. New 24s and 25s. You got to love the all new affordable Equinox for 25. Red tags mean savings, 0% financing, and a ton of cash back for you. Red tags on Silverados, new 24s with 1.9 financing, plus $3,750 back in cash. New Colorado trucks, financing down to 1.9 and not a single payment until February. Your good credit deserves it, and you get it at All-Star. Law enforcement, first responder, educators, healthcare workers, military, recent grads, you get an extra $500 bonus back at All-Star for all the pre-owns that you can imagine they have. Jeeps and SUVs, Toyotas, Nissans, Suburbans, Tahoes, and a ton of pre-owned Silverados. if you have any vehicle you want to sell, bring it to All-Star in Olive Branch, whether you bought it there or not, and you'll get the most money back for it today. Drew and everyone, the whole team at All-Star wish everybody a happy holiday season, very happy Thanksgiving, and into the Christmas season. Together, let's drive to All-Star, and for more information, go to allstarautogroup.com.
Let's get to another break, and when we come back, it'll be time for our Sissy's Log Cabin look back at the weekend in the SEC.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Family Leisure needs your help. Family Leisure has inventory they've got to move because you know what season is coming up. So why wait? You can complete your ultimate game room with a new pool table, a new shuffleboard, new arcade games, or just get all of them. Tons and tons of theater seating, overstocked and priced to move. 'Tis the season for fire pits, and all fire pits at Family Leisure are 20 to 30% off. You say you didn't get a spa this year? Well, say no more. Spas are in stock and they're ready for delivery and up to $1,500 off. These are just a few of the deals happening right now for a very limited time. So come on, check out their gigantic showroom. You never know what kind of deal you're going to find at Family Leisure, Whitten Road and I-40, where family and fun come together.
Sometimes you just want the naked facts, like the fun that comes from a quick and nimble 2024 Honda CB500F. This naked-style streetlight sports a narrow 471cc twin, along with a sleek TFT display, dual-disc front brakes, and standard ABS, all at an affordable price. Find fun in all the right places in the 2024 Honda CB500F. Available at DeSoto Honda, 5656 Women Road in Olive Branch.
Simple, smooth, and every sip as easy as the last. Tito's handmade vodka tastes just as good with tap water as it does your favorite mixers. Back in the day, Tito distilled, hand-bottled, taste-tested, sent out to a few friends, then taste-tested again to give you the finest juice around. No frills, no flavors, no fancy labels, just the good stuff, just Tito's. For recipes, videos, and more, visit Tito'sVodka.com. Distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas, 40% alcohol by volume, mainly 80 proof, crafted to be savored responsibly.
Jenkins Floors and More invites you to their retail warehouse where they pass wholesale savings on to you. Jenkins Floors in Little Rock, Cleveland, Mississippi, and now open in Horn Lake at 2356 West Goodman Road. Specializing in flooring and carpeting, tile, plantation shutters, and blinds, Jenkins makes your life easy with a 2-week turnaround. Contractors, builders, or family projects, call 662-469-9350 for a free estimate. Owners Timmy and Rebecca Jenkins say hello to Sports 56 fans and look forward to your business.
Scott Graham here from Westwood One. Kevin Hartland and two-time NFL Head Coach of the Year Ron Rivera will have the call on Monday Night Football this week when the L.A. Rams host the Miami Dolphins. Matthew Stafford and the Rams are looking for their 4th straight win, while Tua Tagovailoa, in his 3rd game back from injury, hopes to get Miami's season back on track. Join us on Monday Night Football.
Right here on Sports 56.
All right, gentlemen, this is Emmett Smith on behalf of Depend, and I've got the perfect play. Run straight to your doctor's office for a life-changing gift, because when prostate cancer is caught early, it's up to 99% treatable, and one blood test might be all it takes. And now through November, Depend is donating to the Prostate Cancer Foundation for select purchases. Talk about a great play.
From September 1st to November 30th, Depend is donating 30 cents to the Prostate Cancer Foundation for Depend Shield Guards real fit products purchased in the U.S. up to a maximum of $400,000 void in Mississippi.
Whether you're ordering wings for the game, whipping up a 7-layer dip, or ordering pizza, there's something about football that makes you want to eat. And this football season, Uber Eats has the best deals on game day food. No matter what you're craving, from 2-for-1 pizza to buy one, get one wings, Uber Eats will be dropping new deals each week, all season long. Uber Eats, official on-demand delivery partner of the NFL. Order now. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
Sportstime on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Brian Davis.
5, 4,
3, 2, 1.
Time for a look back at the weekend in the SEC. Brought to you by Sissy's Log Cabin, the official jeweler of the Memphis Grizzlies with 9,000 square foot in Laurelwood. Let's go inside the SEC with Bryant and Brett.
Chad Kelly in the gun formation. 3rd and inches for Ole Miss.
Carlton will kick it. It is on the way, and it is up.
Buck Bellew looking at it, going to pitch it to Herschel Walker, try to get him outside. He's going to get 5.
The snap is high. Kelly grabs it, wants to throw, fires it up in the air. Treadwell can't get it.
It is good! Oh, my!
Get a deflection is caught! Deflection is caught! And down the sidelines is Adebayo. He's to the end zone. He's in there. Touchdown, Ole Miss.
He's got 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. He needs a block. There goes Herschel. There goes Herschel.
And you can wrap this one in maroon and white, my friends.
Arkansas is headed to Atlanta.
The national champion is clad in big orange.
And Bryant, Saturday in the Grove. A lot of Georgia fans with jerseys on. The best looking jerseys in the Grove were Herschel Walker, number 34 jerseys for that hoss. The best I've ever seen in this league. And hearing Larry Munson with that loop, always fun. It got started in Austin Saturday morning. Texas 49-17 all over Florida. It wasn't that close. Aiden Warner, you're not at Yale anymore, and I'm sure he realized it. 5 touchdowns passing, 333 yards for Quinn Ewers. Billy Napier 0-1 since the Scott Strickland vote of confidence. Since the Scott Strickland vote of confidence, the entire department's fallen apart. Todd Golden may be on more solid ground than Billy Napier. 12 plays for more than 20 yards for Texas. It was an offensive explosion for the Longhorns. 132 yards passing for Florida. That's a school that used to do that in a quarter with Steve Spurrier. Florida this week will be at home against LSU, where they have a lot of series domination, and Texas will be at Arkansas, scene of the big shootout in 1969 when they played the Razorbacks. First time for them to meet as members of the Southeastern Conference.
Yeah, I'll say this. I think maybe for the first time this year, Florida football wasn't the worst story on campus because of that Todd Golden incident. But, man, it was pretty much anything Texas wanted to do Saturday morning. They were able to do it, especially in that first half. You kind of saw them kind of take those steps back in the second half and say, we've got this game. You know, let's worry about next week, and we have this one wrapped up. But in that first half, they did everything they wanted. Once DJ Lagway was out, I think everyone said, yeah, we know how this game's going to go. It's going to be all Texas. And you look, 21 points in the second quarter alone for Texas was just really, really impressive. Quinn Ewers, like you mentioned, awesome. 5 touchdowns, hard to beat. Arch Manning even got some run there at the end. You got a 100-yard rusher in that game as well. So all in all, a really solid performance by Texas.
This year in the SEC, 25 different starting quarterbacks among the 16 teams. 8 of the 16 have had to go to someone other than the starter, and Florida, the only one that's had to go to 3. Graham Mertz, DJ Lagway, Aiden Warner. That adds up to rough year.
Sure
when you have to start that many
does.
quarterbacks, and they've had it. Ole Miss 28-10 over Georgia. 5 Caden Davis field goals, 1 Jackson Dart touchdown, 5 Ole Miss sacks, and 59 yards total rushing for Georgia. Herschel would have gotten that in the Grove
That's right.
on Saturday. Dart, 13 of 22 for 199, had the interception on the first series that he was injured on, but he also had the touchdown pass to Juice Wells. Carson Beck, 20 of 31 for 186 and heavily pressured. Record crowd in rain-soaked Vaught Hemingway. 4th different record set this year. Can Ole Miss set another one for the Egg Bowl the day after Thanksgiving? We'll see. Austin Simmons in relief, 5 of 6, 64 yards. Glimpse into the future for Ole Miss at quarterback. This week, Georgia at home against Tennessee. Ole Miss with a much-needed open date.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, and what a performance. You mentioned it. Pressure all night, 9 tackles for a loss, 5 sacks for that Ole Miss defense. It was domination for Ole Miss, and it did not look like it was going to be that way. Jackson Dart, we already mentioned it. The interception on the first drive gave Georgia great field position. Then he limps off. Austin Simmons has to come in. What a drive he puts up, and then Jackson Dart says, "All right, I'm good. Let's do this thing." And he was really, really good. After that, you were able to kind of go, kind of that group of the running backs. It wasn't one running back that really did much, but you were able to run for 134 yards, and ultimately that defense stepped up big. You were able to make plays when it mattered, and a massive victory for Ole Miss to put them right back squarely into the mix for that for the playoffs later in the season.
Lane Kiffin, 42-17 in his Ole Miss head coaching tenure, 19-4 the last 2 years. South Carolina, 28-7 at Vanderbilt. South Carolina playing its best football since Steve Spurrier was head coach of the Gamecocks. Rocket Sanders with 3 touchdowns. If the beating for Arkansas versus Ole Miss wasn't bad enough to see what Chris Paul and Rocket Sanders are doing, he's got a really infuriated Razorback fans. Just couldn't keep those talented players. 2 touchdowns, 126 yards for Rocket. Clark Lee, he said it best. He said it was a 3-phase blank whipping Saturday for Vanderbilt offense, defense, and special teams. They very limited Diego Pavia. This week, South Carolina at home against Mizzou can play spoiler. Or can South Carolina be that 3-loss team? Hey, what about us? They would have to close with losses over Mizzou, Wofford, and at Clemson.
Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, South Carolina has turned into, I remember when we were, talking about this South Carolina team and going, okay, who are they? Sometimes they look good, sometimes they don't look good at all, but now, they've turned this into a really, really solid season. This was the outcome I wanted to avoid at all costs, Brett. You know how much I anchored down, but, this was all South Carolina. They, in all aspects of the game, throwing the ball looked good. On the ground, looked really good. Defensively, they looked really, really good. And on the other side, Vanderbilt just couldn't get anything going. So, yeah, South Carolina, we could be talking about them a lot more over these next couple of weeks.
And the whole woulda, coulda, shoulda. Don't you know South Carolina would love to have back Lenore Sellers getting hurt late against LSU, or the Alabama game, a lot of different games out there that you could have back. Brian, we're going to do this later in the week. We're going to go, after we get the release tomorrow night, we're going to go through all the SEC teams, and I'm going to tell you why, if you're in on that committee room, you could veto every one of them.
Okay, I love it.
Because it's there for everyone. We'll do that after the release tomorrow night. Tennessee 33-14 over Mississippi State. Dylan Sampson, career high 149 yards rushing, 1 touchdown for Nico one touchdown for Dylan Sampson rather, 2 touchdowns passing for Nico before he left injured. 8 of 13, 174 yards before the exit. State 3 of 13 on 3rd down. Gaston Moore, no relation to our Greg Gaston, I don't think, in relief of Nico. State did rush for 179 yards on Tennessee's vaunted D-line. So if Georgia's going to get well running the ball, maybe they can against a team that gave up 179.
Sure.
This week, Tennessee between the hedges, Mississippi State with an open date.
Yeah, and now Tennessee is going to get geared up for that big one for them. But in this one, another good game. Dylan Sampson feels like every week, I rave about him running the ball. I just, think he's a really good back. And, like you said, a high in that game with 149 yards, added another touchdown. He's just been racking up the rushing touchdowns this season. Nico looked good until he was knocked out with that concussion. Gaston Moore came in, I thought played well. At that point, they really didn't need him to do much. If he has to go this weekend, they'll need him to do a lot more, and it will be a bigger question of what they'll be able to do if he's the quarterback that has to go in that game.
Saturday night at Tiger Stadium was all Crimson Tide. What's new? Bama 42-13 at LSU. Bama with its 28th win at Tiger Stadium. They have more wins at Tiger Stadium than LSU has in the series.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now it's big bad Tiger Stadium to everybody else but Bama. It's little bitty kitty cat Tiger Stadium to Alabama. The red clad Tide put it on LSU. 100 years of celebrating Tiger Stadium. And Bama needs one of those bricks out front of the stadium, denoting their domination. 185 yards for Jalen Milroe, 4 TDs, and he's back in a Heisman race. Brian Kelly was cussing out everybody on the sideline. Maybe needs to look in the mirror. I think he thought he'd waltz in from Notre Dame and make it look easy at LSU. He hadn't. 311 to 104 rushing. All tied again at Red Stick this week. Bama against Mercer. Mercer's 9-1.
Yeah, and Mercer's a very good FCS program.
Ranked about 7th this week, I think, in FCS.
I think they are right about there. I try to keep up with the FCS top 25. But
that's why I said I think.
Yeah, they're around there. They're a really good program, that's for sure. But, Brett, I just got to say, you've brought up 2 great numbers so far. This number about Alabama, the wins they've had on the road, and then that John Calipari number you had to start the show. Neither were your big numbers, I should say. So I'm very excited for what your big number is going to be in our next segment.
9 minutes away.
That's right. But in this game, it was all Jalen Milroe. I mean, 109 yards throwing the ball, but on the ground, 185 yards, 4 rushing touchdowns. On the other side, Garrett Nussmeier, 239, but 2 interceptions. Couldn't really run the ball. LSU couldn't. And defensively, I thought Alabama looked really, really good with 5 tackles for a loss. So, Alabama, they keep their playoff hopes alive for LSU. Brett, you mentioned it earlier. A lot of people saying that was an elimination game. Now LSU in a really tough spot with their chances of making the playoffs.
Last game, Mizzou facing elimination and a wild comeback. Big 8 game, 30-23 over the Sooners. OU anything but SEC ready. You cough one up at Mizzou and you're not close to SEC ready. Brent Venables should be on a hot seat, but that big new deal he got last spring. Imagine somebody like Lane Kiffin at Oklahoma. Can you imagine him rolling big, Barry Switzer style there? Drew Pine filling in for Brady Cook, 3 touchdowns passing, 4 Oklahoma turnovers. Oklahoma this week, open date. They need it. Mizzou at South Carolina in a potential elimination game.
Yeah, what a wild end to this one. Oklahoma had the lead, just needed a stop on defense. Missouri drives down a crazy touchdown play. They tie the game up, and then second play for Oklahoma, they fumble the ball. It results in a touchdown for Missouri. So in about it was about a 30-minute span or 30-second span. Not only does Missouri tie the game, they also take the lead and win the game. And then after the game, Missouri saying, "Hey, committee, we're here, we're ready, we'll playoff, here we come." So their chances definitely still alive, sitting at 7-2. Definitely got to keep winning to do that. But we talk about it all the time. We haven't talked about BYU yet and their win on Saturday night, late game. A lot of times
caused the Utah AD to lose his mind.
Oh man, that was crazy. But a lot of times we talk about it, and we're going to talk about it more with the playoffs and these 12 teams that get in. But we always talk about those teams with those big seasons, those championship seasons. Sometimes you need just steal game, 1 game to go your way, and that really can change the season. Maybe that's what that was for Missouri on Saturday. Maybe it's what it was for BYU later that night.
Once upon a time, Colorado needed 5 downs.
That's right, yes.
Sometimes you need some really good fortune. That's a look back at the weekend in the SEC, brought to you every week by our good friends at Sissy's Log Cabin, the official jeweler of the Memphis Grizzlies and part of the fabric of Memphis and the hometown teams, supporter of Tiger Athletics, and the official jeweler for the Grizzlies and at FedEx Forum with the floor seat lounge. And you can go back there and look at those gorgeous display cases, and you can do it at 4542 Poplar. Mid-South's largest selection of one-of-a-kind jewelry, engagement rings, necklaces, earrings, wedding bands. That this time of year, just perfect to go by that 9,000-square-foot store in Laurelwood with expanded lines for Rolex, Cartier, diamonds, and more since 1970 with all the locations across the Mid-South. Unsurpassed value, exceptional service, expansive selection, and an extraordinary shopping experience. Because life's too short for ordinary jewelry.
Well, let's get to another break, and when we come back, it'll be time for Big Number of the Day.
Welcome to the Rendezvous.
This is John Vergas. When my dad started the Rendezvous in 1948, I don't think anyone could have imagined we'd still be serving shoulder, cheese plates, and our world-famous dry rub ribs 75 years later. But we are still here in the basement, in an alley in downtown Memphis. We sincerely thank you for making the Rendezvous what it is today. Charlie Vergas Rendezvous, a legendary experience for over 75 years, whether you dine in, pick up, or ship across the country.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. I have been told that my ads are all business and I should share some of my personality. Okay, I love tongue twisters, like the one about the terrific tasting toast by Taste Tester Toaster, or Big Black Bugs, Bleed Blue Blood, and of course Sally and her seashells. Or of course the ever-present I'm a mother pheasant plucker, I plug mother pheasants. Okay, enough of that. If you want an honest, fair, reasonable roofing, siding, or gutter estimate, call Fiveash Roofing at 367-0050. That's exactly what you'll get. No empty promises, no high-pressure sales tactics, and no fast-talking salesman trying to convince you that today and only today is the best day for you to get a new roof. For the record, the best day to get a new roof is when you're ready for one. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Fiveash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you. At Jason's Deli, when you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises. Just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it. Because you're not just taking a bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets with vegan and gluten-free options available. Convenience and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com. So whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli with locations at Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, Poplar and Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Jason's Deli, it's wholesome food and no surprises.
Summer may be over, but yard work, it goes on. Don't worry, Colonial Hardware makes it easy for you. Colonial Hardware has all the lawn and garden tools you need from the best brands in the business. Ferris, Snapper, Husqvarna, Toro, Echo, Shindaiwa, and Billigo. Servicing most brands of lawn equipment, Colonial's master service techs will keep you going year-round. Colonial Hardware, family-owned and operated, and serving you for nearly 50 years. Next to Bass Pro and Lincoln at Sycamore View, and online at colonialhardwareinc.com.
Sportstime on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Brian Davis.
Big Daddy.
Hello, Big Brand. It's a guy, he wants to be big, then he gets big, he doesn't want to be big anymore, then he gets small, but the suit's too big.
Big Daddy.
The big boy.
You're a big guy. I think she's trying to pull a fast one on Big Daddy.
The big number of the day.
Well, Brett, this weekend was full of big numbers, and there were a lot of ways I could have gone with my big number today, but I'm going to go with maybe one of the smallest numbers of them all. 1 for my big number. While this number is 1, it is a very big number. Saturday night, the late night game on ESPNU, BYU ended up beating Utah. They had to come from behind, maybe got some help from the officials to go down and win that game late. Kyle Whittingham was not happy about the end of that game. The officiating, neither was their athletic director, who sounded off after the game. Nobody was happy about that, but this big number does have to do with Kyle Whittingham. Since 1958, they threw this graphic up during the game. Since 1958, at least one member of the Whittingham family has been involved in 46 BYU versus Utah rivalry games. That spans between 7 different family members.
Wow. And they're BYU people.
They are.
Before he became, and he was on Urban Meyer's staff at Utah and took over after Urban Meyer went to the Gators. And did you think the call was that bad?
Brett, I was half asleep. When it happened.
I was too. And still soaking wet.
Yeah. Oh, I believe it. But no, I didn't think it was that. I didn't think it was that atrocious.
I didn't either. And they lost their mind over it. It is one of the, we talked about it Friday, one of the underappreciated I mean, not heated, hated rivalries.
Yeah.
I've told the story. I'm at a Duke, Utah college basketball game at Madison Square Garden, one of those December, games on a Saturday afternoon. And I ran into Utah fans.
Sure.
And they were more concerned with the BYU score, I think, like in the New Mexico Bowl, than they were with playing Duke in front of them.
I love it. That's fantastic.
And I was thinking, come on, guys, you're playing Duke and Mike K. and you got to score on the New Mexico Bowl.
That is hilarious.
It was some innocuous bowl like that BYU was in that day, and they were more concerned with it. They hate each other.
I love that.
My big number is 366. Ole Miss only allowed 245 yards total offense to Georgia on Saturday. That's 366 less than last year when they allowed 611 to Georgia between the hedges down in Athens. And that's that night. That was the clarity in front of Lane Kiffin and the Ole Miss collective people.
Sure
if we're going to compete, we got to get serious and get better ball players. It woke up everybody, and they got serious in the NIO and the collective and brought in these horses.
Yeah, no, they did, and you could see it in that game on Saturday. I mean, they just overpowered them, and I think that's a great point because I kind of forgotten about how that game played out last year, and I just over the weekend, thinking more about it, and then even today hearing John talk about it, going, man, I do remember that game. That was a wild game where Georgia just ran away with it after the first quarter was kind of competitive. But yeah, now that was definitely a wake up call, and it certainly paid off.
It's the thankful time of season, and at All-Star Chevrolet in Olive Branch, you can go down and enjoy the red tag sale where new 24s and 25s are everywhere. Got all new affordable Equinox for 25. The red tags mean savings, 0% financing, a ton of cash back for you red tags on Silverados. The new 24s with 1.9 financing plus $3,750 back in cash. New Colorado trucks financing down to 1.9 and not a payment until February. Next year, first payment. And your good credit deserves it, and you get it at All-Star. And if you're law enforcement, first responder, recent grad, healthcare worker, military, educator, instant $500 bonus back. All-Star with all the pre-owns you can imagine. Jeeps, SUVs, Nissans, Suburbans, Toyotas, Tahoes, and a ton of pre-owned Silverados. If you have any vehicle you want to sell, bring it to All-Star and Olive Branch, and you can get the most back for it, even if you didn't buy it from them. Drew DePriest and the whole team at All-Star, they wish everyone happy holiday season, starting with the Thanksgiving season and into the Christmas season and the New Year. Together, let's drive to All-Star Chevrolet in Olive Branch. For more information, go to allstarautogroup.com.
Well, let's wrap up this second hour, get to a break, and when we come back, we're talking Grizzlies with DeMichael Cole.
When you think about insurance and you want great value without sacrificing great service, I want you to think one place: the Eflin Insurance and the entire Eflin Insurance team. Matt and his group of professionals will access 10 leading companies to find the right home and auto program that fits your budget and your absolute needs. The Eflin Insurance team, the number 386-GER, 386-4777.
Join us celebrating 26 years of Napa Cafe. Hi, I'm Glenda Hastings, owner of Napa Cafe, and I'm inviting you over for dinner. Treat yourself tonight with a delightful dinner of scrumptious combinations, fresh salads, homemade soups, or maybe start with an appetizer like our baked Dungeness crab dip with manchego cheese, lemon, garlic, and French baguette toast. Drift into one of our fresh seafood dishes like the caramelized sea scallops with curry beurre blanc, black forbidden rice, and Thai mango salad. Or our ancho honey glazed salmon with creamy black bean puree, avocado pico de gallo, and jalapeno crema. Maybe you're looking for something cozy and comforting, like our Duroc pork chop with apple brandy demi-glaze and blue cheese bacon mashed potatoes. We have something for everyone. Napa Cafe, Open Wednesday through Saturday for dinner starting at 5 o'clock. For reservations, visit our website at napacafe.com. Come join us as we celebrate 26 years of Napa Cafe. I'd sure love to see you.
You or someone you know or care about has dealt with a difficult divorce. When facing divorce, you need the attorneys at Rice Law. Nick and Larry Rice lead the firm with 3 generations and 7 decades of experience. Located in Memphis, serving the entire state of Tennessee and North Mississippi. Rice Law is who you need to call. Simple or difficult divorce, they know how to handle it. Call Rice Law at 901-526-6701, or for more information, visit them at aboutdivorce.com. That's aboutdivorce.com.
Ole Miss Rebel Yell is back. The Rebel Yell Hotline Radio Show is back on WHBQ Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Every Monday night at 6, hear the latest news on your Ole Miss Rebels with Yancey Porter with 24/7 Sports, former Ole Miss defensive tackle Mike Fitzsimmons, Gordon Ford covering SEC Sports Call, and former Ole Miss baseball announcer Gary Darby. From kickoff to free throw to extra innings, your Ole Miss Sports on the Rebel Yell Hotline Show right here Monday night at 6 on Sports 56, 560 AM and 98.5 FM. Your Mid-South Sports Station.
Admit it. When you start thinking about tastes of Memphis, you think treats, sweets. You think Dinstall's. For 122 years now. What is that, 5 generations? When people wanted something to bring to a party that will just make everybody happy, they bring out Dinstall's. 122 years of cashew crunch, of heavenly hash, of turtlettes, of their award-winning fudge. That's worldwide. It's known that well. Then there's the milk chocolate. It all starts there. There's the double-dip peanuts. And then every fall, those famous chocolate-covered strawberries with that fondant. And they won't tell you what's in the fondant, but it makes it oh so special. And easy to get to. 5 locations. There's where they make the candies in Pleasant View. There's Germantown. There's Collierville. There's even one downtown and in my neck of the woods in Laurelwood. You know what? 122 years made in Memphis and enjoyed by the whole world. Dinstall's.
At Jason's Deli, when you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises. Just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it. Because you're not just taking a bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets, vegan and gluten-free options available. Convenience and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com. So whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli with locations at Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, Poplar Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and Goodman Road in Highland Branch. Jason's Deli, it's wholesome food and no surprises. Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. Trying to clean up this accident with injuries. 40 eastbound near Witten Road. It's got traffic really slow over here, both east and westbound. On I-40 at Witten Road, they moved this wreck way over to the right-hand side on 240 westbound at Poplar. It is heavy eastbound, though, on 240 east between Poplar and Walnut Grove. Busy out here. Give yourself extra time. Shop now and save during the holiday season at Weimer's Jewelry, located 7525 Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
From the Family Leisure Studios, we are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis. Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour brought to you by Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City. Once again, our Brett Norsworthy and Brian Jenkins.
You say you stand by your man. Tell me something I don't understand. You said you love me.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you as we start our third and final hour on this Monday afternoon. We do it every Monday during the basketball season, talking Grizzlies with DeMichael Cole from the Commercial Appeal. DeMichael, thanks so much for joining us. This Grizzlies team, a lot of people upset last week with the 2 losses against the Brooklyn Nets, but you look up, they've now won 6 of their last 7 games. They are rolling right now and playing really, really well. What have you seen out of these last couple of games, especially these last 3 games? I should say 5 of the last 6. What have you seen of these last 3 games, 3 straight wins?
It's been mainly the defense, guys. The defense is doing what it's supposed to do in terms of, they're setting the tone defensively and turning that into offense. Even in that loss to the Nets, you only gave up 106. And if you take this entire stretch, as you mentioned, going back to the Bucks game, they've won 5 of 6 since then. And in that stretch of 6 games, only one team has scored more than 110 points on them, and that was the Lakers, scoring 114. And in that game, the Grizzlies scored 131. So, a lot of them have been blowouts. You beat the Bucks by 23 points. You beat the Sixers by 17. Lost to the Nets by 2, but you beat the Lakers by 17. Beat the Wizards by 24. And then, of course, the big one, beating the Blazers by 45. So it's not that they're just winning. All 5 wins are by double digits. I mean, and not cheapies, at least 17 points in each case. They're getting out and running. And my main thing was with this whole get out and run style was would the defensive intensity still be there? And so far, that's been the case.
DeMichael, through Wednesday will be 3 weeks since the season started. Wednesday night in Los Angeles against the Lakers. Bryant and I were talking earlier. I think on opening night through 11 games in 3 weeks, I'm a half full guy. I'd take 7-4.
Yeah, I think anybody would. I mean, with the way things have played out, especially with the injuries and whatnot, I think the only, gripe that people may have with this is who the 4 losses have come against. Like you lost on the road to the Rockets. I think that's a respectable loss. But losing at home to the Bulls, losing at home to the Nets, and then losing on the road to the Nets, I think those 3 people kind of poke at or whatnot. But overall, the schedule strength, this is a part of the schedule where I always felt, the Grizzlies could really take advantage of, because going forward, especially over the next week, things are about to get much tougher. I mean, the Lakers are undefeated at home. The Warriors are tied for the best record in the West. And then you come back home after that, and you got Denver twice with Jamal Murray, Jokic looking like a, top 2, top 3 MVP candidate right now. And that Nuggets team. So then you get the Sixers after that. Paul George, I'm sure Joel Embiid will be back by that point. So you avoid Tyrese Maxey, but you get Paul George and Joel Embiid on the second night of that back-to-back. So the next 5 games will be very, very telling. But, yeah, this first 10, 11 games, they've done what they were supposed to do, which is take advantage of what looks like one of the weaker parts of the schedule.
That Jokic stat line, wow. That's up there with that Wilt stat line that everybody kind of uses as a meme.
I mean, I don't know how because he's not, it's not like, with all due respect to Luka and James Harden and those type of guys, he doesn't do it like them. He's not coming up the court like after he grabs the rebound and telling everyone spread out and dribbling the ball for 15 seconds.
He's not ball dependent.
No, he's not. And it's just remarkable how the ball just finds him, and it's pretty basketball. Like, just through the flow of the offense, you look up, boom, a triple-double. And like you just said, it's not like, of course he's the best player in the world right now, so you got to get him the basketball. You got to give him his touches. But with that being said, it's not like when you're watching Luka, when you're watching James Harden, and even a couple other guys in the league where, it's dribble, 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 make something happen for us. It's not like that, in Denver with him.
Yeah. You mentioned the next game for the Grizzlies against the Lakers last week when these 2 teams met. Ja Morant was on the court, had a big game, was kind of getting into it with some of the Lakers, including LeBron James after the game, said, I don't like them, talking about the Lakers, which I know a lot of people love to see. But now Ja Morant will not play in this game Wednesday night, out with an injury. What can you tell us about this injury and kind of what you've heard about the timeline for him?
Yeah, so it's going to take him some time to recover here. This is something where he's going to, kind of slowly be brought along. So I don't know how many weeks, but I know it's not just, sit him down for a week and he's back next week. I know that is not the case here. So, I saw him before, right after he had the injury, the next day at around shoot around, and he was walking very gingerly, didn't have crutches at the time. Now, they did the second look at it, and, the extent of the injury was determined with the pelvic strains and whatnot. But, he's going to be sidelined for a little bit. Luckily for the Grizzlies, they're going to start getting some other guys back really soon.
DeMichael, I don't want you to spend any capital with friends around the organization, but if you could ask somebody pretty point blank, are they certain? Can we rest assured that it's not the Chet Holmgren injury?
I don't think that's the case. Yeah,
Okay,
I do not think that's the case. At least from
and don't ask. Don't use any capital up, DeMichael.
Yeah. I got you, but yeah, he's more week to week. I think that one is more of a month timeline,
long time.
But at the same time, I think people need to be familiar with the idea of Ja, not being rushed back from this. Like with his style of play, you got to be careful with this one. This is the hip we're talking about. This is a guy we know who drives the basketball to the basket almost as much as any guard in the league. He takes hits to the hip. Guys are going to put their hands on his hips, trying to prevent him from getting to the lane and little savvy defensive moves and whatnot. So you got to take your time with this.
So it is not pelvis. It is hip.
It's his he has a pelvic muscle strain.
Okay.
It
sounds like the Mike Dickerson injury, and Gristorians could fill you in. I bet you know about it, though, way back, and it derailed a great career. Yeah,
I'm familiar. I'm actually familiar because I was just trying to figure out, this is not a common basketball injury at all, really. And Josh had a couple of those injuries where, Desmond Bain, too, where they kind of get these, football-type injuries. But it's because Ja and Dez both are really aggressive attacking downhill guards where the way that they attack sometimes kind of mimics football style of play more so than basketball. But
like Russell Westbrook plays.
Yeah, exactly. And we know his body has taken a beating, over the course of his career too.
Last night in that game against Portland, Jake LaRavia had a really, really good game. 18 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 blocks, 3 steals. But he's played well really to start the season, but certainly over these last couple of games. The game before that against Washington, 9 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. Before that, 13 points, 5 rebounds, 8 assists for him against the Lakers. What have you seen from him this season and over these last couple games? I know he was talking to Rob Fisher after the game last night on FanDuel Sports Network and kind of said that he just wants to go out there and make an impact. If he goes out there and is knocking down shots, that's great. But if he's not, he wants to be able to impact the game in other ways, and we've definitely seen him do that so far.
Yeah, that's kind of what he told me, too. He said he just wants to be a dog, right? He just wants to go out there and impact the game in different ways. And this is something that was interesting to me. We talked about this a lot before the last home game because with Jake LaRavia, the thing is, I think he was kind of expected to just be this sharp shooting forward who was going to be the eventual starter alongside of Ja, and Dez. But then his shooting, he had shooting struggles throughout his first couple years, but then he had struggles all throughout his game. But this is the first time, we saw it towards the end of last season a little bit, but then he got hurt again. But this is the first time he's consistently gotten playing time. You talk about over 25 minutes a game right now. He's playing a lot, and you're starting to see, his game evolve and his niche be formed. Throughout that is so important because usually with these guys, which is why Jalen Wells has been super impressive, but that's neither here nor there. Usually with these guys, you come in your first 2-3 weeks, months, or whatever the case, the timeline differentiates, but you come in and you're just trying to find your way because you're not in the same system you played in college where your usage is a little bit higher, especially when you come to the Grizzlies and everything revolves around that core 3 of guys, Ja, Dez, and Jaren. And Jake Laravia's coming here, and certain guys have been out with injuries at certain times since he's been here, so his role is this one game, then it becomes this the next game. One game he's allowed to play and pick and roll a little bit more. The next game he was standing in the corner being a shooter. He's already said that this offense, with cutting and stuff like that, fits his style of play a little bit more. And now he's getting extended minutes. So I think it's the opportunity more than anything. And you're starting to see, that's what type of player he can be. I think the first 2 years, for the most part, no one really knew what type of player he can be. And the proof of that, because everyone used to have this idea of him just being some just high-volume knockdown shooter. And if you watch Jake Laravia, even going back to his college days, that was never his game.
Right.
Like, even at Wake Forest, he wasn't chucking up 7, 8 three-pointers a game. It was, very low volume. He made them at a high clip, which is, obviously what intrigued the Grizzlies in part. But he made them at a high clip. But the way that he's playing now, and this is kind of what he told me, is how he's always played, just this do-it-all guy. He's rebounding really well. Before this last game, he had 3 consecutive games with at least 5 rebounds and 5 assists.
Wow.
So he had 4 boards and 2 assists in his last game, but he made up for it with 18 points, 3 blocks, and 3 steals. So he's showing that, hey, that's the key with any reserve, especially with this Grizzlies team, because you got a lot of scoring. They're going to have 3 guys average over 20 points per game this season. So scoring ain't a problem over here. How can you be effective on the night where you only take 2 shots? How can you be effective on the night when you're shooting 1 of 7? Jake Laravia had a game earlier this season against the Nets where he shot 1 of 10, but he found other ways to be kind of impactful. That's the key. That was the key with Luke Kennard in this last game, right? Luke Kennard was only 1 for 5 on 3-pointers. There was a time if you told me Luke Kennard was 1 of 5 on threes, I would have said, he probably was horrible in that game. But no, he had 11 assists, made himself useful in other ways, and that's kind of what Jake Laravia has shined at pretty much more than anyone. Like, if he isn't scoring, he's rebounding. If he isn't rebounding, he's passing the ball well. And if he isn't doing any of those things well, he's getting after it on defense.
Yeah. Well, you also mentioned Jalen Wells in there, who's been super impressive, has been thrown into the starting lineup. And this guy, I mentioned this earlier with Brett, where, on draft night, I guess the second draft day and for the second round, I don't think there were many people in this area that knew who Jalen Wells was, a guy who, spent 1 year at Washington State, and before that was at a Division II school. How has he made this change to the NBA ranks as a second round pick look so seamless so early on?
Yeah. What stood out to me the very first time we talked with him is he understood the simplicity of basketball.
Yeah.
And everyone doesn't understand that because you come in as a rookie and your head's on fire and you're trying to learn all these different new things. Jalen Wells said, my job is pretty simple. I'm going to space the floor. I'm going to get out of the way with guys like Ja and Dez, and I'm going to be an outlet for them. And he's done that, but by doing that, he's gotten more confident. And now it's like, okay, it's 7 seconds on the shot clock. I got a matchup that I like. I don't just have to throw it back to Jaren really quick. I got a matchup that I like. Let me drive the ball and create an advantageous situation for myself or someone else. And he trusted his game. He's a terrific shooter. He's got that old school type of feel to him as well, where he's built his game. Playing a lot in the mid range area too. So we saw him, knock down a turnaround jumper yesterday, and he attempted one in the game before that. And I was on press row. My eyes got big because I saw the confidence. It's the way you take shots sometimes. So if you're watching guys, you can tell when a guy takes a shot and you're like, that's something that he practices. And when he took that turnaround jumper and missed it, I said, oh, my goodness, that is a shot where you're talking about 3-4 years into his career with 7 seconds on the shot clock. He's going to be posting guys up, and he's going to have that in his bag whenever he wants to go to it. So, he's good. He's good. The Grizzlies are really going to have to figure out what they're going to do with him from a playing time standpoint when most of these guys get back.
There was a sequence last night where he got the ball, wing extended, head fake, dribble drive, and goes up and under kind of baseline under the goal, layup, and Brevin Knight on the broadcast said, "Oh my, that is grown man veteran move."
Yeah. I mean, that's the one I'm referring to. That is moves that you see, you know, the most polished guards in the league right now doing. You know, that was something I'm used to seeing. You know, the Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Devin Booker, Paul George, like
the
that,
super elite.
Yeah, and he's super young, so you know it's only going to be, you're just going to see the flashes of it right now. But there's going to be a point to his career where he has the strength and he just has the wherewithal to know that I can get this whenever I want.
Yeah.
Instead of in those situations, it's like, I don't have anywhere else to go. Let me pull out my other moves that I rarely use. Eventually, it's going to be, that's what separates the vets from the younger guys. Like Kevin Durant will know with 15 seconds on the shot clock, I'm trying to get to that spot right over there, and that's where I'm going to shoot it from. And he's going to get there.
Mm-hmm. We knew Yuki Kawamura was a fan favorite here in Memphis, but last night watching the game in Portland, he goes to check in and the arena roars with excitement for Yuki. He goes in, his passing abilities, we already knew that was getting some oohs and ahs from the fans. He ended up scoring, which got a big cheer from the fan base. I mean, I knew we've talked to you and you've told us about how, over in Japan, he's just, such a big deal over there, and we don't see that being here. I did not think he would get that sort of reception on the road in Portland.
Yeah, he's become a league-wide phenomenon.
Yeah.
I was talking to some people about this, and one thing that the Japanese media was telling me, and I think I said this to you guys before in a way, was he's bigger than Rui Hachimura in Japan right now. And I could not understand that at first, but then when you listen to them talk about it, and this is kind of the Steph Curry effect in a way too. They said when you watch him play, fans kind of gravitate towards him because of the fact that he's 5'8", small guy. It's like they see themselves in him. It's like the typical American story, right? The Jack and the Beanstalk and all these other different stories. Like you're rooting for the very small, you're rooting for the smaller guy, and he's going against these 6'6", 6'7" guys, and they're trying to slow him down. And these dudes are playing for their career too. So he's in the game, late in the game, going against guys that are trying to make an impact too. So and he's he's fun. He's fun to watch. It's a great story. I'm enjoying covering it for sure.
No, he is definitely really, really fun. Last thing for you, DeMichael, you look at these next 4 games. We've talked about how well the Grizzlies have been playing right now, but it is a tough stretch that's getting ready to start on the road against the Lakers, on the road against Golden State, then back-to-back home games against Denver. What do you expect these next 4 games? What do you think that record looks like over these next 4 games? What should fans be happy with? Is it 2 wins? I mean, what is it that should be considered a successful 4-game span?
Man, 2 wins would be successful for me.
Gold star winner.
Yeah.
If you split this, that means you're 9-6. That's really good. I honestly, I don't know. If you ask me, look, the Lakers are undefeated at home. Ja Morant just, gave the Lakers a little bit more motivation going into this game, and Ja's not going to be available. So now the guys are going to have to, basically stand on Ja's words a little bit. You got the Warriors after that, who've been really good. They just got DeAnthony Melton back, who just had a really good game. That's going to be really tough. And then maybe you split the 2 against the Nuggets, if not win both. So 1-3, 2-2, somewhere in there is kind of where I see them going in that stretch. But you should get Marcus Smart back. Desmond Bain is inching closer. So I think that's part of it too. Depending on how many of those guys they get back, will kind of play a role in that as well.
DeMichael, you mentioned DeAnthony Melton, and I know you're not supposed to play favorites, but human nature allows for some. Who's the former Grizzly out there in the league that you're really pulling for?
Man, the former Grizzlies player that I'm really pulling for,
maybe
Tyus.
Yeah,
Tyus. Tyus was a guy who, ultimate professional, and you hear that a lot, but the way that he accepted that role behind Ja Morant, and we asked him all the time about being a starting point guard because it became so abundantly clear that when he jumped in the starting lineup, it wasn't that he was just holding the fort down while Ja was out. He brought a different element to the offense. Like, the ball moved differently. The assist numbers were up. The three-point shooting numbers in terms of the attempts and the percentage was different when he was on the floor. So it was a different type of offense when Tyus Jones was out there as opposed to the one with Ja Morant. So that kind of stood out. Whereas with Scotty, he's trying to do, a lot of the things. Like, he's putting his own touch on it too, but he's doing a lot of what, Ja and the coaching staff have kind of implemented within this system. But yeah, Tyus handled that situation really well. Went to Washington, and that situation was what it was. And I just like to see guys believe in themselves. And he believed in himself so much he just took a minimum deal to go play for a contender. Right now it's working out for him because they're in the top of the West. But yeah, he's someone. Love to see him actually turn this into a well-deserved bigger deal for himself and, get his money's worth.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as always, DeMichael, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll do it again with you next Monday.
All right, take care, guys.
Thanks, DeMichael.
Thank you, DeMichael.
DeMichael Cole joining us, talk some Grizzlies from the Commercial Appeal. He's the Grizzlies beat writer. Go check out his work over at the Commercial Appeal. Before we get to another break, let me remind you about our great sponsors. They're with us every afternoon at 5 o'clock. It's Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City. Jaguar Bluff City has been the premier Jaguar dealership for the greater Memphis area since 1984. Their talented team is ready to help you find your next perfect vehicle at unbeatable rates. Swing by Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City today and check out the new 2025 models like the 2025 Range Rover Sport, the 2025 Range Rover Velar, or the 2025 Defender. Test drive the Range Rover Sport where luxury meets performance. It's a perfect mix of style, performance, and versatility with options ranging from 360 horsepower up to 635. And it's also available as a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle with $7,500 federal tax credit when leased with approved credit. Take a look at the Range Rover Velar. Powered by mild hybrid technology and enhanced with the latest well-being features and fully connected entertainment system, the Range Rover Velar is the ultimate luxury compact crossover. Purchase yours today and get special 4.4% for 72 months financing available with approved credit. Don't forget about the 2025 Defender. Available in multiple models to fit your needs, the Defender is built for the modern explorer, and Jaguar Bluff City is offering special interest rates for 60 and 72 months on various models. Give them a call, 877-259-6169. They can answer any questions for you, or go out and check out those vehicles. Test drive them. 6335 Wheel Cove off of Quince. That's 6335 Wheel Cove just off of Quince, or visit their website, jaguarbluffcity.com. Perfect time to get by Jaguar Bluff City with the holidays just around the corner. But let's go ahead and get to a break. When we come back, it'll be time for our Monday Night Football pick and preview tonight's game, Miami against the Rams. We'll also get to our Big Four defensive players for each of these teams. We'll do that next on Sports Time.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Locally owned and operated for over 40 years, Automatic Gates Construction tailors custom gate solutions for all your residential, commercial, and industrial needs, including repairs, maintenance, and installation. Automatic Gates Construction specializes in designing and installing automatic gates and fencing that seamlessly blends security, functionality, and aesthetic appeal. Elevate the safety and efficiency of your property with a premium gate solution. Automatic Gates Construction at myautomaticgates.com.
This holiday at T-Mobile, I'm joined by
Snoop, let's talk about T-Mobile. This holiday, get 4 lines for $25 a line, plus 4 iPhone 16s with Apple Intelligence and the all-new camera control on us. You can use those eggs to make some eggnog, Snoop. And people do love T-Mobile, where you can save on every plan versus the other big guy. Yeah, I'll take some of those savings and buy some Snoop merchandise. Always a great stocking stuffer, Snoop. Hold your horses, Snoop D-O-double-G. Let's remind people one more time.
Now drop that shit. 24 monthly credits for eligible trade-ins and 20 lines with autopay. Well qualified customers plus taxes and fees and $35 per line connection charge. Cancel entire account before receiving 24 bill credits and credit stop and balance and required finance agreements due. $829.99 credits end. Pay off device early. See how you can save on wireless and streaming versus the other big guys at T-Mobile.com/switch. Apple Intelligence available now.
What a great time of year. Football, basketball, baseball, golf, and home sales. Home sales? This is Sheldon Rosengarten with Mark's Pensworth Realtors. And why did I throw in home sales at this time of year? Because I have sold homes on the day before Thanksgiving, Christmas Eve, and New Year's Day. Whether it's someone transferring in through our relocation network or someone just starting their home search, homes sell all year long, just like my golf game being bad, all year long. I may be called Mr. Three-Putt, but at least I'm consistent. If you or someone you know is thinking of selling, make sure and talk to 2 to 3 real estate brokers, but make sure I'm one of them. Find out how my highly successful strategic marketing program can get the winning score you need. Call me and find out why people often say when you want the job done, oh, Shell done. 483-0546 or MemphisRelocate.com. Go for that goal and call me. Shell Dunn at 483-0546 or MemphisRelocate.com.
Do you know one of the best things you can do for your employees or family's health? Provide Arctic Clear bottled water. Arctic Clear bottled water is your locally owned and operated bottled water provider. Arctic Clear is 100% natural spring water with free delivery and setup, dependable service, and no long-term contracts. What an easy choice. Call Jeff Manus today, 901-382-2363, or visit arctic-clear.com. Arctic Clear bottled water. Call now, 382-2363. That's 382-2363.
So you need to sell your house? I have the solution. Call 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. Call my buddy Bill and I buy houses. Any house, any area, as is. It's literally as simple as that. Just pick up your phone, call 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. Call my buddy Bill and I buy houses. Guaranteed to close in 5 days. If you need to sell your house fast, call Bill at 901-406-1101. That's Bill and I buy houses.
Listen Sundays at 11 a.m. to join Idlewild Presbyterian Church for worship. Idlewild is a PCUSA church located in Midtown Memphis.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. We had a truck just drive off and hit a fence over here on 40 westbound near Witten Road. Looks like it's going to be out here for a little while longer. That's why it's been slow between Germantown Parkway and Witten Road. Eastbound, that wreck being cleared there around Witten Road. That's making things a little bit easier on that drive on 40 East as you pass Witten Road, headed on out towards Fayette County. Shop now and save during the holiday season at Weimer's Jewelry, located at 7525 Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Welcome aboard. ABC's Monday Night Football.
Monday Night Football indeed, with Rams hosting the Dolphins. Really been busy at SoFi Stadium this weekend. I know Stan Kroenke loves that. Have we checked in on Commander Chuck? Is he okay?
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so.
What was going on?
Kind of petered out there at the end, last one of the day, and
getting us home safely.
That's
Thank
right.
you, Chuck. Thank you very much. Tua Tagovailoa has been great since his return from the injured reserve 2 weeks ago. Completed 80% of his passes, 3 touchdowns, and last week had a 14-play, 97-yard drive that was capped off with a 14-yard touchdown pass to Devin Achane. He's been real good. Please don't get hurt tonight, Tua. Don't do it at all. Don't do it anytime. But with everybody watching, 12-2 all-time, Dolphins lead over the Rams. The Rams trying to get hot in that NFC West. Key matchup tonight will be Cooper Kupp against Jalen Ramsey. They were teammates in L.A. for 4 seasons, but that is big-time matchup right there. Tyreek Hill dealing with a wrist. We hope he's back tonight.
Yeah.
The Rams have lost 5 straight to the Dolphins, with their most recent win coming in 2001 when they were in St. Louis.
Wow,
that was their only home victory over Miami. I swear, I think I was at that game.
Do you really?
I really do.
Wow.
The Dolphins, they've won all 4 meetings in Los Angeles. I would go about once a year for sure, ever 2 years to games in
sure.
St. Louis.
Wow.
And I really like going after the college football season had settled down.
Right.
I'm certain I was at that game.
Wow. That's awesome. How about that?
Yeah. Wow, I didn't know it stood out for anything. I really didn't that day. Maybe they needed more of me going to games in St. Louis. Boy, that's a sore subject for our St. Louis friends.
No,
they hate the NFL. I'm not kidding you. You just showed the Shield logo, and they go crazy.
Yeah, no, I believe it. That is
Can't
definitely
really
sore.
blame them, can we?
No, not at all. I mean,
now who they should hold that far is Stan Kroenke.
Yes.
And then they do. They kind of get everybody.
Yeah, I think they're all together on that one. You know,
they do. Big time quarterback matchup tonight. Tua against Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, no, it's a really good quarterback matchup, and like you said, I think with Tua coming back, it's almost like every game you're just all right, Tua. Don't get injured. I was watching his first game, and we might have talked about this after it happened. His first game back, there was a play where he takes off and he slides, and it was a home game for Miami, and everybody erupted in cheers because he got down and slid. And then the very next game, I think they were on the road, and same thing, Tua takes off, and this time he kind of dove forward to try to get the first down, and whoever was doing, I don't remember if it was the play-by-play guy or the color commentator, they kind of almost yelled out, like, oh no, because it's just every time he starts running, you're worried about him colliding with somebody and getting another
slide. And when he slides, almost simultaneous to him going into hook slide is when that defender's barreling in. That defender, he can't know.
That's right.
And I think it leaves the dome more exposed. Hot take. Eliminate the slide. You must go head first. And that means it's over at the point of initiating it.
Yeah, no.
But you must go head first.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, but this is going to be a really good quarterback matchup. We've seen this Dolphins team is completely different when Tua is out there playing and when Tua is sitting on the bench injured. And so, he definitely gives them more life. You look at him at this team 2-6. But I think this line reflects that a lot of people think Miami's going to be very much in this game. And so, I hope we get a really good one. But, I don't really know. I think I know who I'm going to pick here in a second, but we'll see.
Yesterday in the NFL, both you and Darian went 2-2. Connor went 3-1.
All right.
4-0 for me. 10-0 the last 2 weeks in the
cow.
National Football League. Yeah.
Wow, look at
Just
you.
saying.
Just
saying.
saying. Not bragging or anything.
No, not at all.
Just throwing it out there just so everybody knows.
And tonight with that, Connor takes Miami plus the 2.5. I'm going to lay the 2.5 and take the Rams. I'll get Darian's off air, but I will get it. And if I can't reach him, he's on vacation. If I can't reach him, how do we give him a pick?
We might have to. I don't know, because you can't just give him a pass.
No, and I'm not going to give him automatic L. I'm going to give him a game.
No, yeah.
Controversy, an all-important pick.
I say we make him make it up on Friday with he has to do like a double lock or something like that. He has to
counts double,
or get
next
two
Monday
games.
night
Or
counts double.
Yeah, something like that. We'll figure it out.
Great idea.
We'll figure it
Your
out.
pick.
Yeah, my pick. I'm with you. I think I'm gonna go with the Rams in this one at home. I know Tua's back. I know this team is much different when Tua's there, but I think it's kind of the same story with the Rams. You look at those receivers that have been injured all season long. With them back, I think this team's better, so I think they get it done tonight at home.
Big four defense all time for the Rams, whatever market they've been in, when they've been the Rams, wherever, and big four for the Dolphins. The Dolphins, while some Hall of Fame defensive players, historically, at their peak times, they've made their bones with offensive players.
Oh, 100%. No doubt about it.
They're good defensive players.
Sure.
They're a Hall of Famer there, but it was a pretty tough task.
Yeah.
I'll start with the Rams, and I'll start with Aaron Donald, number one. And I'm close to having Aaron Donald, and I just don't know who I would drop. I guess it'd be number 10 to add Aaron Donald to my top 10 players of all time.
Yeah.
I said all time.
That's crazy. Yeah, you did, though. Yeah.
Number 2, Deacon Jones, Hall of Famer. Number 3, the late, great Hall of Famer from Auburn, Kevin Green. And number 4, Hall of Famer, Merlin Olsen.
Okay, interesting. All right, well, I'm exact same, locked in with you in the top 2. Aaron Donald, number 1 for me. Deacon Jones, number 2. 3, I'm going to go Jack Youngblood. Not only a great player, but also a great name. And so I will go with Jack. 3.
Legend.
Oh, yeah.
And any Super Bowl anybody from WHBQ's ever been to, you've had Jack Youngblood on,
That's
and it's
fantastic.
dynamite radio.
I believe it.
And off there, it's even better.
Oh, I believe that as well. But I'll go with Youngblood at 3. How about this? I always love, and people, if you listen to us do our rankings, you will know this. Anytime we got a little bit of a player crossover, I love trying to get them on both lists. So number 4 for me, Jalen Ramsey. I mean, had his best years as a Ram. I think it gets forgotten because he's now bounced around, hadn't been great with Miami. Or I shouldn't say hadn't been great, just hasn't lived up to maybe the hype at Miami. But he was really good when he was with the Rams, so I'll put him number 4.
You with the Dolphins, and it was tough.
All right, yeah, no, Dolphins was very tough. I'm going to go OLI, Jalen Ramsey. Got to get him in there somewhere, but I just couldn't fit him in on that top 4, so I'll give him an outside looking in. Number 4 for me, Junior Seau. I mean, an unbelievable player. I know he didn't spend that much time.
Kind of forget about him with the Dolphins.
You forget about him, but I still got to insert him there, and that's why I had him at 4. I would have had him probably higher if it was one of his other teams, but like you said, kind of gets forgotten there with the Dolphins because he's only there a couple years. Number 3 for me, Sam Madison. Number 2, Zach Thomas, and then number 1, Jason Taylor.
Number 1 and 2 is it. Mason Taylor, the tight end at LSU. His dad's number 1. His uncle's number 2. Jason Taylor, number 1. Zach Thomas, number 2. Number 3 for me, the old Georgia Bulldog and MVP of a Super Bowl as a defensive player, Jake Scott. And number 4, and it's not, I promise, it's not just because his Ole Miss tie. He's not ever going into Canton, but he is in the Dolphins Ring of Honor. Went in this year. Ole Miss standout defensive tackle Tim Bowens.
Oh, it's a good one. It's a really good one. You're right. Did just get in there, didn't he?
And really close to, maybe someday Veterans Committee may on Hall of Fame, but a great player.
Yeah, no, a really, really good player. Now, I thought both these lists were really fun and a little difficult. You were talking about the Rams. Whenever we're doing any of these lists, I try to kind of go around and see kind of what other people say and if I can find other lists out there to kind of try to figure mine out. And, for especially the Rams, you get into those top 10s of all time and, top 20s, the top of that list, very offensive heavy. And then, it's just been an offensive dominant franchise in their past.
We could name 20 offensive players. Heck, about 10 out of the
absolutely.
St. Louis on Greatest Show on Earth teams.
Mm-hmm.
Those teams had good defensive players. Kevin Carter was good. Dre Bly was good. It had other good defensive players that helped. But it was so offensive fixated.
Absolutely. And the former Memphis Tiger, Isaac Bruce, right there in all of it. I mean, you look at any of those lists, he's right there in all of those top 5s.
I almost had Alabama's Bob Baumhauer on the defensive front, and our friend John Varla said disappointed not to get a Vern Denherter reference for the Dolphins.
Wow.
And
Oh,
John,
Vern.
I can feel your disappointment. he was a pretty good player. There were other good Manny Fernandez was a good player for the Dolphins. Of course, Nick Bonacani, but even the undefeated Dolphins. I mean, you thought of Bob Greasy, Larry Zonka, Mercury Morris, Jim Kick, Marv Fleming, Howard Twilley, some Paul Warfield, and a lot of others.
Yeah, well, and I think that's what kind of made this more difficult, because you're right. I mean, both of these franchise, the all-time greats are offensive players, and so you really kind of had to dig and kind of determine, all right, is this guy better than this guy? How do I rank this guy and what he did? So I really like this list.
It was a soggy track Saturday in the Grove, but I promise you, all the places that had beef eater slider trays and the fresh fruit tray and all the great food from Jason's Deli, still a hit in the very challenging conditions Saturday in the Grove, and for Friday night, I'm sure the same at Tiger Lane for the Tiger games, for all the tailgating, for all the special times we're going to enjoy, all the office parties. This starts bringing food and having events at the office, Lollapalooza time of year for that. Started at Jason's Deli from any of these great locations, Ridgeway Road across from MUS, over by the University of Memphis, at Poplar and Highland, down in Olive Branch, out in Cordova. All those locations, you can contact them for more details. Always can at jasonsdeli.com. Bringing more to the table. It's a family thing at Jason's Deli. It's approaching the dinner hour right now. And if you want to go over there and off the menu, any of those great salads like the Mesa chicken salad, the nutty mixed up salad, my favorite, the taco salad, they have it for you. And at every location, that great salad bar with over 30 items to choose from, for you to prepare it however you would like. Plenty of organic food to choose from, healthy, first franchise in the nation to be trans fat free, and it's all about choice at Jason's Deli. Whether you seek a gluten-free menu, vegetarian sandwiches, healthy kids meals, you will be delighted at Jason's Deli. Complimentary free ice cream in all those locations at Ridgeway Road, Poplar and Highland, Olive Branch, and Cordova. With the holiday season coming up and all the families and all the get-togethers we're going to have, start it out at Jason's Deli. If you're thinking you don't have your event planned properly, step aside, let them step in. That's when they really excel. Wholesome food forever. It's a family thing at Jason's Deli.
Let's get to our final break of the day. When we come back, we'll wrap up today's show with Crunch Time.
Be sure to follow us at Sports 56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows. Stay up to date with station events and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports 56 WHBQ.
Hi, this is Troy Five-Ash, owner of Five-Ash Roofing. Did you know there are so many roofing companies in Memphis that I don't even know them all? So that begs the question, which one should you choose? So I thought I'd give you a little background about me. My grandfather was a World War II Marine. My father worked for the University of Memphis for nearly 30 years. My mother, a pianist at Raleigh Baptist Church. Seems like forever. I went to Brownsville Road, Craigmont, and Bartlett High School, class of 81. We support the local school systems, youth athletics, and believe in what St. Jude and Le Bonheur stand for. I'm a Tiger and Grizz fan. The point? Memphis is my home. Five-Ash Roofing will be around if you ever have a problem with the service we provide. Five-Ash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical, with deep local ties in our community. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Five-Ash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
Simple, smooth, and every sip is easier to last. Tito's handmade vodka tastes just as good with tap water as it does your favorite mixers. Back in the day, Tito distilled, hand-bottled, taste-tested, sent out to a few friends, then taste-tested again to give you the finest juice around. No frills, no flavors, no fancy labels, just the good stuff, just Tito's. For recipes, videos, and more, visit Tito'sVodka.com. Distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas. 40% alcohol by volume, namely 80 proof, crafted to be savored responsibly.
You know, sometimes I wish I had a gun.
Well, I'm armed, but before I bought one, I still went to Top Gun Academy to learn to protect myself without a gun.
How is that possible?
Top Gun's personal protection training. It's perfect if you want to protect yourself without firearms.
I don't know.
And it's perfect if you feel the need to carry a gun for self-defense, because the last thing you really want to do is shoot.
That is scary.
Not at Top Gun. It's very comfortable, and you learn to load, handle, and shoot a handgun safely. Protect yourself. Go to Top Gun Academy. They're at 2770 Witten Road.
You or someone you know or care about has dealt with a difficult divorce. When facing divorce, you need the attorneys at Rice Law. Nick and Larry Rice lead the firm with 3 generations and 7 decades of experience. Located in Memphis, serving the entire state of Tennessee and North Mississippi. Rice Law is who you need to call. Simple or difficult divorce, they know how to handle it. Call Rice Law at 901-526-6701, or for more information, visit them at aboutdivorce.com. That's aboutdivorce.com.
Don't miss the Grizzlies of tomorrow in your Memphis Hustle tip-off for the regular season against the Mexico City Capitanes tonight at the Landers Center at 7 p.m. Arrive early as the first 500 will receive a Hustle Tour t-shirt. Visit memphishustle.com to purchase tickets today.
Admit it. When you start thinking about tastes of Memphis, you think treats, sweets. You think Dinstall's. For 122 years now. What is that, 5 generations? When people wanted something to bring to a party that will just make everybody happy, they bring out Dinstall's. 122 years of cashew crunch, of heavenly hash, of turtlettes, of their award-winning fudge. That's worldwide. It's known that well. Then there's the milk chocolate. It all starts there. There's the double-dip peanuts. And then every fall, those famous chocolate-covered strawberries with that fondant. And they won't tell you what's in the fondant, but it makes it oh so special. And easy to get to. 5 locations. There's where they make the candies in Pleasant View. There's Germantown. There's Collierville. There's even one downtown and in my neck of the woods in Laurelwood. You know what? 122 years made in Memphis and enjoyed by the whole world. Dinstall's.
Do you know one of the best things you can do for your employees or family's health? Provide Arctic Clear bottled water. Arctic Clear bottled water is your locally owned and operated bottled water provider. Arctic Clear is 100% natural spring water with free delivery and setup, dependable service, and no long-term contracts. What an easy choice. Call Jeff Manus today. 901-382-2363 or visit arctic-clear.com. Arctic Clear bottled water. Call now 382-2363. That's 382-2363.
Sportstime on Sports 56 and 105 FM. This hour brought to you by Jaguar Land Rover. Once
This is pretty cool, and we're just getting started, so.
Spanning the globe.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
This is for all the biggest crunch time.
You are looking live. In your life have you seen anything like that? Goodbye! Hello, Haskell.
It's obviously crunch time.
Hammer, nail, coffin. This baby is over.
Well, Brett, what I learned today, news that just came out a couple of minutes ago, Tyreek Hill will be active tonight against the Rams in this Week 10 Monday Night Football matchup. It absolutely is. He's been, like you said earlier, he's been dealing with a wrist injury, but he'll be able to go. Went out there and see how it felt, and obviously it feels good enough for him to go tonight, which definitely helps the Dolphins with how explosive Tyreek Hill is. We know that chemistry that whole offense has. The starters, it feels like they are all certainly on the same page with each other, but certainly with Tua and Tyreek, the connection they have, they can certainly use him out there, and glad to see he'll be playing tonight.
What I learned, a lot of two-loss SEC teams, and we'll wait till the committee renders its Tuesday night decision, and then on Wednesday we're going to carve out some time, and I'll go over all the SEC teams with 2 losses and tell you why, if I'm in that committee, I could make a strong case they don't deserve to be in, and a lot of them speaks for itself. But now it is a very real possibility of 7 teams finishing 10-2 in the SEC. It's not that complicated either. It could happen. If it does, we sort it out, and then if you whine too much, all I can tell you is on opening day, you knew 0 would take care of you. You knew 1 loss would probably take care of you. 2 loss, you're at the whims of the committee.
Yeah, no, you absolutely are.
That goes for anybody.
For sure, 100%. What I could have done without, it's got to be the flight incident with the Auburn basketball team. Friday night, we started getting reports. At first, they started out as reports that I didn't know if I really believed. It was, Alabama fan Twitter pages and stuff like that saying, you'll never believe this, Auburn just had to Auburn is turning their plane around because of a fight. And I'm sitting there going, well, I don't know if I believe that. And then it became more credible reporters reporting that no, that was in fact the case, that Auburn was having to turn their plane around, go back to Auburn, and land because of a physical altercation that happened on the plane. The audio from the flight came out the next day where the pilot is saying that we have basketball players fighting, that there are guys with bloodied noses and ripped shirts and all this stuff. It's just crazy that exactly. And then the fact that there are journalists that are wanting to report after the fact that it was just
at Auburn Undercover?
Yes.
Go AuburnTigers.com.
Exactly. And even I saw a couple national guys trying to say that.
Hey, let me guess. I bet every one of those guys thought they were getting Lane Kiffin, too.
Oh, I'm sure. But, even to see some national guys saying, I'm being told by my sources that it was just horseplay that got a little out of hand. No. Horseplay that gets a little out of hand does not get a plane
Horseplay's when a Tony Allen Blu-ray game goes wrong.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. But, good for them. They were able to get the win.
It's not the first time ever that we've had that. But it may be the first time a plane had to be diverted.
Yeah, oh, exactly. And that's the biggest thing, is that the plane had to turn around and go all the way back because of this incident. Now, they did get the win, but definitely not the story you want to see from Auburn, not even a week into the season.
Could have done without Big Bad Tiger Stadium for everybody but Bama. Just took LSU's pride Saturday night. Game day there, return of the live Tiger, return of Nick Saban.
Yeah.
And the place was empty except for Bama fans from the fourth quarter on. LSU great over everyone else in the SEC. They sure are. And they put it on Ole Miss this year, no question about it. But when it comes to Alabama, it's all tied in that series.
Yeah, it 100% is. Where are you beaming tonight?
Beam me to Hollywood for Dolphins at Rams. Dolphins season going nowhere. Everybody's holding their breath that Tua won't get injured again. No way he has another concussion and would return from it. There's just no way. Right. Probably beyond dumb. He's out there now. Rams won 3 in a row and trying to get in that NFC West mix.
Yeah, beam me a couple places I could beam, but beam me tonight to Tuscaloosa for McNeese taking on the number 2 ranked Alabama Crimson Tide. A matchup between 2 SEC coaches, at least one current and one former SEC coach, as Will Wade will take his McNeese squad to Alabama. He's done a good job kind of building this team. McNeese is 1-1 to start the season. That one win was, I believe, over an NAIA program, so this will be a very big test for them. Alabama right now a 17.5-point favorite at home. That game gets started here in just a couple minutes, 6 o'clock on SEC Network.
Will Wade is really the answer to every coaching search fantasy
100%.
For every school out there.
Absolutely. He is number 1 name. Any job that comes open last year or now going forward, he's going to be named number 1.
Undefeated Cavaliers tonight against the Bulls, 11-0. How dare they have a team without LeBron in the land?
Yeah, well, they've been playing really, really well. They're still undefeated, and that should be a good one tonight.
Yale against Auburn tonight.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Yale, they play at Purdue tonight.
That'll be
and they
good
beat
one.
Auburn in the tournament.
They sure did, and Purdue still trying to replace Zach Edey, the big man that had so much success there the last 2 years. A lot of good things on the slate tonight with college basketball, NBA, Monday Night Football, a little bit of everything. But enjoy your night. That's all the time we have. We'll talk to you again tomorrow afternoon.